we, as the chair has indicated, we're making 3 presentations to the committee. The presentations obviously are shorter, but we have also submitted the full reports on the 3 areas in which we are presenting. I'm going to start with the report on assessing the work of SAPS police stations in combating violence against women. The presentation has outlines the CGE mandate, the background of the study, objectives, methodology, approach, overview of the finding, emerging issues from the study, and actually in South Africa, the legacies of injustices of the past, the levels of poverty that we have, unemployment and inequality. And when we talk about these causes of violence against women and children, we are wary of speaking from a perspective of cause and effect, where it is assumed that poverty leads to violence. There are millions of people who live in poverty who are not violent, but these things are just some of the contributory factors to the level of violence that we have. As such, as the Commission for Gender Equality, we have conducted various studies, basically trying to contribute to combating gender-based violence through our mandate of monitoring implementation by different structures of government and the private sector and society in general. In 2011-12, to that effect, we conducted the assessment of progress on the implementation of the National Action Plan, or what we know was known as the Kopanung Declaration of the 365-day program, and evaluating implementations or the implementation of the Victims Charter. 2013-14, Honorable Chair, this is just a bit of a background leading to the presentation that I'm going to make, just to indicate that there had been other work that has happened before we got to this study. In 2013-14, we assessed the work of the National Council of Gender-Based Violence, which is another report that we will present today. 2015-16, we assessed programs by selected national and provincial government departments to combat gender-based violence and violence against women. And then in 2016-17, we assessed the work of the South African Police, as will be presented here. The SAPS in particular is a critical stakeholder in the fight to prevent crime in general, but mainly crime, the gender-based violence crimes. Honorable Chair, as I say this, I'm thinking that yesterday I received proposals from SAPS for us to have an MOU with them. And I felt that this was a good sign that if SAPS initiate a relationship with the Commission, this means they are actually taking our recommendations and seeking our support. And that for me was very encouraging, that we perhaps are going to have a more meaningful relationship that will lead to actually making a dent in addressing issues of gender-based violence. But SAPS as an institution, in terms of the 365 days program, was tasked to address a number of key objectives, including strengthening capacities of existing prevention programs within police stations, also to focus on the development and implementation of prevention and intervention programs, and putting in mechanisms. Hello? Thanks. I will continue. There was a sound feeding back, but I'll be guided when a projection has happened. Some of the tasks that were given to SAPS through the The Kopanong declaration included assigning SAPS to ensure that domestic violence is not confined to the private family, but addressed as a crime and a public health issue or a public health crisis, so to speak, given the levels that we are experiencing. The SAPS 5-year strategy, which ended in 2019, had amongst other its objectives, the objective to reduce the level of crimes against women and children and other vulnerable groups by 2% per annum. And I looked at this 2% and I wondered why such a little percent. But then as I read the report, I realized that sometimes institutions set targets based on their available resources. And if they did reach this 2% per annum, after 5 years, there would be visible results in terms of the reduction in gender-based violence. SAP has also, amongst other things, the following legislative or administrative tools to execute its mandate in implementing national laws against crime and violence against women, GBV and violence against women and children. These include the South African Police Service Act of 1995. They have their 5-year strategy. They have national orders and instructions. They have provincial orders and instructions, which trickle down to police station orders and station priorities, obviously informed by this legislation. The objectives of the study was to assess the work the work of state institutions in their continued efforts, plans, programs, and strategies to combat gender-based violence. It was also to examine the relevant national and local interventions to combat crime, particularly violence directed against women and children. We also wanted to scrutinize the work of selected SAPS police stations in line with the Domestic Violence Act of 1998, which is one of the primary legislative instruments for SAPS to address issues of violence against women. And the Domestic Violence Act empowers station commanders actually to put in place programs and interventions at station level to address gender-based violence and violence against women and children. And the approach that we took was primarily qualitative, and here is where we did in-depth interviews with station commanders, deputy station commanders, because these are the people who are actually responsible for ensuring that legislation is actually being implemented or it's not contravened at implementation level, at ground level by the police. So these were the key informant in this study, although there were also the police themselves that were interviewed to actually get their experience as they are the core phase of service delivery, so to speak. The 6 police stations agreed to participate. And here we just put we put these 3 that we highlighted in the police station, because these were selected specifically from areas that served large communities that were a mix of both urban and rural. And these were areas where the high levels of gender-based violence were reported. But we will provide the findings from all the police stations that were assessed. And in addition to the interviews that were conducted, we also did what we would call a desktop review or a document review of the police stations that were being assessed, because sometimes when you conduct interview, you do need to triangulate with other information to see if what you are finding in interviews is supported by documentation. Honorable Chair and members, now I'm getting to the overview of the findings, where I'll present some of the thematic areas in presenting the findings they will be presented in themes, just to make the information more concise. So one of the factors that we looked at in this study as the Commission, we looked at the strategic leadership in these police centers. And the strategic leadership included things like the knowledge of the key issues and causes of domestic violence, GBV, and violence against women and children. And this is key, Honorable Chair and members, because often knowledge and attitudes or beliefs inform how services are delivered to the public. So it's very key that the people who deliver the service are informed around these issues. That's why we delved into this with the key informants. We also looked at their understanding of key national, provincial, and station level frameworks that seek to address these issues at hand, which is domestic violence, gender-based violence, and violence against women and children. We also looked at their ability to develop long-term strategies and priorities for these issues in the local area of, in their local area of jurisdiction, and also their ability to mobilize the necessary resources to address these challenges. And this is where you look at how they work. Is their work siloed? Is it internal? Does it link to the community? Does it link to like-minded organizations, or for instance, NGOs that are dealing with gender-based violence? All these things contribute to the strengths or weaknesses of a service. The second theme in terms of what we were looking at was institutional capacity and gender-based violence related internal structures. Here we looked at the police stations' capacity to deal effectively with the issues of domestic violence, GBV, and violence against women and children by mobilizing the necessary resources. So once they show us the understanding in the previous theme, we want to see it in action. And therefore now we are looking at how they operationalize the capacity that they would have said they have, the knowledge, the skills, the availability of accurate information for these issues, and the availability of funds, more importantly. We also looked at whether they have put in place relevant internal structures to deal with these social ills, whether they have developed relations with local NGOs and community-based organizations to boost capacity. The last area, thematic area, we wanted to look at the relevant intervention programs and initiatives. So what they were currently doing as we were conducting the study. Honorable Chair and members, commissioners, I'm now going into the overview of the findings, and I will try to not dwell very much in all the slides because the findings are pretty much similar in the 6 police stations. So I will just give a sense of the kind of findings we got, and then I will summarize. I will skip to the last slides that speak to our conclusions and recommendations. So the first case study that I'm going to present is the Rustenburg Police Station in the Northwest. And in summary, we found that the station was well resourced, and as it would be expected, it was based in town or in an urban area, which is a predominantly mining area. But in general, in South Africa, you find that services that are based in former non-Black, so to speak, areas, I mean, the legacy is continuing. They tend to be better resourced than those that are based in Black communities. Here we had the only of the 6, we had a female station commander who was knowledgeable of the socio-economic and law enforcement challenges in the local police station, but she was limited in the knowledge of some key national policy frameworks on domestic violence, GBV, and violence against women. In terms of the institutional capacity, the station had a victim support center to handle case reporting and collection of statistics. Although the center was in a poor state and it was under-resourced, it wasn't clear what working relations the police had with the victim support center. It's like it was there, under-resourced, not really fully functional, and not really clear how they work with the actual police stations. That particular police station that we were looking at, there was also unclear relations with the domestic violence crime prevention officer, who was a volunteer officer in that center. So again, it's those common kind of findings you come across in some public institution, where you find that working relations are not really clear-cut, and reasons vary, obviously, depending on what the institution is facing at any given time. However, the station reported close working relations with key stakeholders like the Departments of Social Development and some NGOs who provided support and care for victims of domestic violence. Councillors were also available to provide assistance to the victims, and some training was provided on some of the legislative frameworks on domestic violence, especially the Domestic Violence Act. In terms of the relevant interventions or programs in the police stations, again, there were no clear specific programs or initiatives dealing with domestic violence, although one can say the Victim Support Center was one of those, but articulation sometimes becomes a different story. And as this is research, you don't provide information for the respondent, but you can interpret it as I'm putting it, that they couldn't provide a clear or specific program, but when you listen to what I have just said around the issue of the victim center, you can say this is one of those. And it just highlights how sometimes services are provided without a clear understanding of how and why we're providing these services, or what is the purpose of some of the structures that we have within our institutions. We also found that there was a fairly limited knowledge of or relevant or specific provisions of the Domestic Violence Act. The police station did not provide satisfactory responses on measures or initiatives and programs on the ground to ensure effective interventions against domestic violence, gender-based violence, and violence against women in the community. The station only conducted awareness campaigns to raise awareness on issues of domestic violence and related issues using local radio stations. And again, the effectiveness of these campaigns couldn't be determined. Honorable Chair and members, if you can allow me to interpret as I go, because again, knowing how we've been doing things in the public service, sometimes we work very hard, but we often don't measure what we are doing and the impact of what we are doing. So this is like a widespread, because even here we couldn't get a satisfactory response when we asked about how effective are these interventions, or could you see the impact of these interventions? So that doesn't come across very clearly. again, another common finding that the honorable members will identify is that we also found that domestic violence victims were more inclined to withdraw cases for various reasons, but what was specified here was mainly family pressures, where especially women would be, convinced not to, cause trouble in the family by reporting the perpetrator. If honorable members allows, as I had said, the findings in all the police stations are pretty much similar. I will highlight that we also went to Buitikong police station in Rustenburg, where we found similar, there are slight differences, but similar findings, so to speak. So if honorable members allow me, so I don't become repetitive, I could just highlight the rest of the police stations and then go to the conclusions. The third case study was Liboa-Kgomo police station in Limpopo, where they also had pretty much some facilities and not others, different levels of understandings in terms of the interventions, the impact of their interventions, their understandings of the law, who they work with, and the Department of Social Development is common across the police station or most of the police stations. The fourth case study was in Seshego police station in Polokwane, which was in an urban area and was fairly well resourced, as I had indicated commonly in South Africa. This is a normal feature, so to speak, that urban areas tend to be more resourced than non-urban areas. The fifth case studies, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, was the Berlin Police Station in East London. Here the difference is that this was a mainly rural area, and the station commander was adamant that while domestic violence and violence against women was a challenge, it was not a major problem in the area. And that is something that remains to be seen, because again, earlier I talked about our knowledge, attitudes, and practices. When you conduct research, when you have background knowledge on these issues, and usually when you conduct this kind of research, you don't do it in a vacuum. We had already looked at other statistics. Stats SA has information around these areas, so you triangulate information, and responses that perhaps as the commission would worry us, responses that translate to denial, for instance, would inform recommendations that perhaps a certain level of awareness raising need to be conducted in particular areas, just to raise awareness that we don't have to be protective when we report these issues. When we do this work, it's not about blaming other people. We all are working in a system that has challenges, and we all need to work together to be able to address these challenges. But if some of us get into a denial mode, it defeats the purpose of our efforts to combat gender-based violence. In this area, issues of substance abuse were also identified as an underlying cause of gender-based violence, but these again are not unique findings in this study. They have been seen in several studies conducted by the Commission and other entities. Excuse me. Other entities that conduct research. The sixth case study was the East London Police Station, And then again, this one was based in a urban slash city area, and again relatively well resourced. And the station commander there, who was male, had also undergone training in gender mainstreaming. So he was more informed around the key challenges, especially around intimate partner violence, which he identified as one of their major problems in this particular police station. Honorable Chair and members, having summarized the case studies on the 6 police stations, I want to jump into emerging issues from the studies as a way of summarizing the key themes around the study. So one of the things that we found, which is what I sort of like jumped the gun and mentioned in the beginning, because it stood out for me as I was reading the reports, is that of the 6 police stations that we looked at, there was only one female station commander, who was actually more knowledgeable around the key challenges relating to these issues that we were looking at. Another emerging issue was that alcohol and substance abuse across the police stations was one of the key causal factors leading to various crimes, especially sexual assaults and so forth. But again, typically the figures, the statistics locally were not readily available. And again, this speaks to that situation of being able to systematically have systems that have tools to measure and record what we are doing. The station commanders were able to provide ideas, explanations of underlying causes of the issues at hand, and translate these, some of them, into clear strategic plans and programs. So overall, when you look at the 6 police stations, while there were others who could not articulate, but in general, some of them were able to translate these issues into strategic plans and programs on the ground. The most common response, Honorable Chair and members, across the 6 police stations was awareness-raising campaigns. Although the effectiveness of the campaigns could not be established, but they do conduct this in different ways, including radio, community meetings, and so forth. East London Police Station was the only station that claimed awareness raising were yielding positive results. And this is what I indicated earlier, that research has a way of making a researcher want to delve further. When you have a response that says gender-based violence is not a problem, it's not a problem here. And then another one that says our campaigns work, but there are no empirical evidences to support the statements. We don't, again, I'll say we don't antagonize and accuse, and no, we try to advise in a more constructive way when through research we can identify that there is a level of defensiveness in the way that responses are provided. In terms of institutional capacity, the common institutional setup in most of the police stations was the victim support centers, or victim supports, victim empowerment centers, as they call them in different ways. And these centers generally appeared understaffed. Especially in Rustenburg, where it was manned by only one volunteer, and it lacked basic resources and no guarantee of effectiveness in operations. As we can imagine, this is a one-person show, and a person who volunteered, assuming this person doesn't get compensated. And when you volunteer and where you are assisting, there are no resources, I can only imagine how committed you could be to be able to function. But that is just me looking at this. Many of the station commanders were largely unfamiliar with some of the key national policy and legislative frameworks, especially the Domestic Violence Act, which is worrying because that should be the Bible for law enforcement, so to speak. The victim support centers were largely post-incident support structure. So you went there after things have happened, while the police stations had limited proactive capacity to deal with domestic violence and related matters. The limited resources for some of these stations and greater reliance on ordinary sub-officers to deal with domestic violence, often with limited training and knowledge in these areas, was also evident. And again, that is not anything new. In terms of the interventions that they had, Honorable Chair and members, they did not have clear, coherent, and well-defined long-term strategies, plans, or programs of actions to tackle the scourge of domestic violence. And as presented earlier, some had some centers and so forth, but because these are not deliberately planned and coordinated and strategized, you find that it's almost like a do as things come kind of approach to providing services. And many of the stations admitted that domestic violence was persisting, if not escalating, during the time of the study. The leadership of the police stations were largely not familiar with multi-sectoral or interdepartmental programs to inform their work on gender-based violence, and they had limited capacity to develop appropriate long-term effective strategies to respond to gender-based violence. I'm getting, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Commissioners, to the recommendations. And I just want to perhaps highlight that this presentation will sound actually more familiar as one continue with the presentations going ahead, because the issues are similar, the findings are similar, and this to us, from a research perspective, it means we are actually identifying real issues out there in the country that not only demonstrate that we still have quite a lot of work to do, but they also demonstrate that the challenges are common across institutions, so to speak. So in terms of our recommendations, Honorable Chair and members, it is necessary for the SAPs to develop an internal national program of action to educate and sensitize its senior officers, especially station commanders, deputy station commanders, and other related personnel on key national policy and legislative frameworks dealing with gender-based violence and violence against women. Such an internal program should also focus attention on clearly defining the role of SAPs in general and that of police stations on the ground in implementing national programs of actions to combat gender-based violence and violence against women. Honorable Chair and members, if you can allow me, because this recommendation basically reminds me of an anecdote from a presentation yesterday where it was highlighted that when you look at our statistics on gender-based violence and other social issues, you will realize that within the public and private sectors, we are actually breaking the law. We are actually undermining the laws that we had put in place after 1994, but without realizing. Because personally, I believe we all want to do the right thing, but if I'm not trained in legislation around the work that I'm doing, it will be difficult to be conscious that I'm breaking the law when I don't provide the services that I'm supposed to provide, or I'm breaking the law if I don't provide resources for the service that are supposed to be provided to the public. Having said that, the next recommendations or recommendation, Honorable Chair and members, is that SAPS should strive to develop or enhance current multi-sectoral arrangements with other departments, such as the Department of Social Development and the Women's Ministry. The relationships are there, but because as indicated, sometimes this is not well coordinated. And I think that is one of the main challenges around our work, that we have the guidelines, clear guidelines on how to do things. But when it comes to practice, these things tend to get mixed up if coordination is not tight, so to speak. So this is one of the recommendations that we are making, that even institutions like the NPA, to share ideas. We need to know that the left hand need to know what the right hand is doing. And when we coordinate in that manner, things become a bit more manageable. SAPS should also draw up internal guidelines on the establishment of appropriate and well-resourced internal units to enhance the capacity of individual police stations for effective proactive interventions through prevention and response programs. So that is another emphasis, that at this stage or at the time of the research, a lot of interventions seemed reactive, again, which is not unique to SAPS. But then we encourage that they have something more proactive and more coordinated in this regard. And the SAPS should provide appropriate training, and this is very key. And training here, Honorable Chair and members, one should emphasize that a once-off training, we all have been to 1 day, 2 day, 1 week trainings, but training is an ongoing phenomenon, because if we are trained once and it goes, you get busy and you even forget the principles that you have been trained on. So training is an ongoing thing that we are recommending, that the police and many of us public servants need to keep getting reoriented in our areas of work, just to keep that commitment going. Honorable Chair and members, this is the end of this particular presentation on the assessment of police stations in fighting gender-based violence and violence against women and children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CEO, for your presentation. And at least going through the investigations that you have done, I think members will have a lot of questions to ask you. You know, as you were busy presenting, I was thinking of the deployment of commissioners in these provinces. And I'm going to ask the commissioners questions, and members are going to ask commissioners questions according to what you've just presented to us. The first one that I want to start with is Commissioner Day. You are deployed in the Eastern Cape.
Yes, I am. Morning, Chair.
Morning. And in terms of the mandate of the CGE, the mandate of the CGE is to promote and protect. In fact, you know it. There's no need for me to read it for you, because you understand your role and your mandate as the institution. What I want to ask you, there's one case of interest that is in PE, the case, the Omotoso case, as the chair of this portfolio committee, I think I went to that case 3 times. And I remember we even spoke to the lawyers that were representing the victims. And we mobilized communities to go and support those victims. What I want to check with you, in doing monitoring as a commissioner deployed in Eastern Cape, have you monitored how is the case progressing? That's the first question I have for you.
Yes.
And then my second one, what do you think East London gave positive results besides the high levels of rape in that area? And then the other one.
I'm sorry, Chair, could you please repeat that question for clarity?
Okay. What I'm saying is that what do you think East London gave positive results besides the high levels of rape across all ages in that area, especially East London? And then the other one is I've asked you this one. I just want to check with you, because that province is vast. How many times?
Because that province is, apologies?
Is vast. You know,
yes.
You know the way the geographical location of East London is it's vast. So, how many times have you visited that province? Because, you know, I've been getting, even honorable members, sometimes they get calls from people who are staying in that province, and they don't even know where is your office in East London. And honestly speaking, even myself, I don't even know where is your office located in East London. And there are other cases that have been raised by honorable members. I know of one a case that was raised by Honorable Mugweba, whereby there's a village whereby old people are being harassed and raped by young boys in that village. I forgot the name, because you know the names, I'm not familiar with the names of that place. But Honorable Mugweba, I think, is part, she's here in the meeting. She can be able to tell you exactly which village is it. And maybe we have never given or asked you questions in relations to this of your deployment. And you know, when I was busy reading through the report as the CEO was busy presenting, you know, I was thinking that I'm sure all of you need to respond to us. Some of you who haven't gone to provinces with you, and some of you who have went to other provinces to attend to certain cases with you. I know I have attended some cases with the chair of the chairperson, Commissioner Tamara, and I think we went to some of the cases, and in some of the police stations, I think she went, And I also went with Commissioner Mazibuko to some of the police stations and around Pretoria. But when the CEO was busy reading, presenting the report, you know, I just thought of Eastern Cape. That Eastern Cape has got a lot of challenges. And some of the reports that you are presenting to us is 2018, 2019. I'm not sure whether I'm mistaken. There are some for 2020. Because, you know, when you present a report, and this is 2021, and the research that was done is 2018, 2019. And we would have loved to have an updated report and status of those police stations by now. That in 2020, what is the status? So that, you know, we must not take the report raw as is and say, this is the status now. When you do research, you need to make follow-ups and see on the things that you have done that time, and tell us now what is the status now. I can imagine dealing with a report that was done, a research that was done in 2018, 2019, and I take it raw as is. This one is not directed to you only, Honorable Day. It's directed to all of you, the commissioners and the CEO. That, you know, when we deal with research, we need to get also an updated report and research so that we know exactly what are we dealing with. At that time, it was like this. You have a responsibility to monitor on what is it that is happening. So if you have not monitored according to your mandate on how are they progressing in terms of the things that, in terms of the findings that you discovered that time or you identified at that time. So we'll be like we're presenting something, but now it's no longer factual because maybe there's progress made. So it's important that when you do research, you give us exactly what is the status according to the years, because we need to deal with those things and address them as lawmakers. If there's no progress, we need to address them. Because what we do, we follow up on issues. So everything, that's why we, even with the report that you presented to us of forced sterilizations to women who it is alleged that they are HIV, you know, we made it sure that as the portfolio committee, we meet with the portfolio committee on health, so that when the minister and the department, they are making a presentation, we are able to say, no, this is what we want we want you to do, and this is how things must be done, and we need feedback. So we don't just invite you to come and make presentations and we don't make follow-up. We do make follow-up. So with this one also, we'll meet with the portfolio committee on police and justice. Fortunately, at least we are having a good working relationship with the portfolio committee on justice. Whenever there are cases, we forward to them as and when we receive them, and they are being attended to. So I think that's why Eastern Cape came to across my mind that, let me ask you, Honorable Day.
Thank you very much, Chair. Oh, sorry, apologies.
Okay. You can respond so that I can just get what I was asking you, and then I will hand over to other members.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wanted to respond to the questions that you have asked. The Omotoso case that began before I took on my duties as a commissioner. However, having been updated both by Chair and the office, was that the case had been monitored until 2018. And afterwards, the case was postponed as magistrates had changed. But in terms of the Eastern Cape as a whole, holistically, and strategizing on how to... sorry. Yes, Chair.
Okay, you are saying you took over from?
So the deployment works this way, Chair. I am, as a part-time commissioner, I am let me use military language. I'm second in command. There's usually a primary commissioner who does the bulk of the work, and where they fail, then I would slot myself in then and be able to help and assist. So
okay, tell us, you are with who?
I was with Commissioner Ntuli Tlobata in the beginning, and now I am with Commissioner Bwota. It's been updated in the province, and there's a very particular reason, which is why I want to explain, Chair. Okay. The Eastern Cape, as you said, is a very vast province, but it is also a very traditional province. I'm not sure if you know how I look in person, but I don't look very traditional. Let's put it that way. I'm a very visibly lesbian woman, and I foresaw and have foreseen difficulties, particularly in engaging with traditional. A lot of the office and the work that they do is with the traditional houses. And they had various issues, including the traditional house expecting women to wear dresses, present in a particular way. Our previous legal officer had very those pointed issues in that perspective. So with Commissioner Bwota coming in, it was to help balance and bring, I don't want to say authority, but understanding those dynamics, because I've visited the Eastern Cape. I've gone to villages where I've been invited by traditional authorities, and oftentimes I did perceive at that time that I was not being taken seriously for various, I don't want to make excuses, but for the reasons I have noted, that I do not present in a way that is approachable for traditional patriarchal officers, let's put it that way. However, also in our deployment in the CGE, we also have interests. So my interests obviously are LGBTI and legislation, and I draft and give input and seek out meetings with various high-level persons. So we intervene not only at the case level on the ground, but also at the policy level. Recently, Commissioner Bwota was part of the Nelson Mandela Gender Parity conversation or consultation. However, with the Eastern Cape, some of our difficulties is how can we intervene? Because I'll take the Omotoso case, for instance. We must intervene in a manner that shows solidarity to the victim, but also we must maintain, in my view, in my personal view as a commissioner and how I understand my function, in a manner that would allow me the independence to, when there is an issue, when the victim raises an issue around SAPS impropriety, I can then intervene as the CGE, and our independence will not be compromised. So whilst we endeavor as the CGE to show support and engage in these cases, I hope to make it clear to members that our engagement must also balance. So we cannot be wearing a CGE and regalia and supporting in a very public manner. I would understand, because of the nature of our role as the CGE, that if there are issues that need to be addressed, particularly in how perhaps the investigation has been conducted, in how the one issue that had been identified was the questioning of a...
Commissioner Day.
Yes.
Let me stop you. You see, my questions are specific. What I've asked you, I wanted you to respond to what I've asked you. On how you do your things, it's another thing. We don't want that one, because we've been working with yourselves, your commissioners most of the time, and we know exactly what is their role and what is the role of your legal team when they go to those, they are assigned to those cases. Stop.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. It's Commissioner Matebula. Can I come in at this point, Chair? Okay, thank you, Chair.
You remember one day, yourselves, you came here and you did not want to deal with smaller Nyana cases or individual cases, and we refused as the portfolio committee that there's no way that you're going to come to the portfolio committee and you tell us you are going to deal with high-level cases, matters of interest, of national interest, and so on, and we refuse. We said, you are going to represent our people. Where there are issues and people are reporting to you, you are going to attend to those cases. My question was specific. Have you monitored the Omotoso case? You have responded, and the answer is no. The Omotoso case is continuing. They've played all the tricks, but the case is sitting. I'm talking about what happened last year and early this year. That case is continuing. The other issues of traditional leaders, I understand you. That message is loud and clear. I heard you, what you said. But you see, it cannot be correct that now I'm asking you as the chair on behalf of the portfolio committee, and it's only now that you're raising your other concerns coming from the traditional leaders. We know, all of us, we know, even KZN is like that. In fact, we know when we go there as members of parliament, you can't even go and address Amakosi wearing a trouser. So we are told by the people who are residing in those areas that no, yeah, it's Amakosi, you need to dress this way. And we do exactly that. Because we still want to show them respect and adhere to their rules. Because we can't go and impose ourselves our beliefs in their place where they've got their own way of dealing with things. But that was supposed to be discussed with yourselves in your plenary on how then do you work around in areas of such? You see, our understanding is that Commissioner Botha is deployed in Limpopo and I think in Gauteng. We don't want at one stage that when we want to report, as people are complaining, there are many people that are complaining about the non-existence of CGE in the Eastern Cape. Hence, you know, I'm raising these questions on behalf of the Portfolio Committee. Mam Kaula used to raise questions when she was still with us about Eastern Cape. It's like it's neglected. So that's why I'm saying I'm stopping you so that it must not be like a dialogue where and acknowledging things that and sometimes will ask you questions that will make you uncomfortable. But there is nothing wrong of acknowledging where we haven't do work and commit that you'll do work accordingly and as expected. So that's why I'm stopping the chair, because I don't want the chair to be your spokesperson. If we are asking honorable commissioners questions, we are directly asking the person, so the person must respond. Then later the chair can come in. I'm still going to go back to Commissioner Klobata to respond. I will not go and ask Commissioner Botha of an activity, a once-off activity that's set. No, I'm not talking about that. We know that you are dealing with policy and what. The chair can tell you. If there are things that we don't understand, we'll call her. And the deputy chair, we call them. So even Bomama Zibuko, we still follow up on them, whether they are still following the case of Tsakane. So each and every person, you know, we make sure that we'll ask you what is happening here. The other day when we were here, we were raising an issue of that we don't see your billboards. It's like CGE is not existing. And then we said, why? Because there was money that you have saved. Maybe you need to do something. There's an outcry. So when as members, we are here to do our oversight, we are being criticized as people who are not doing our work according to the way we are supposed to be doing our oversight. So we are not going to be lenient to yourselves as commissioners. Because when things are happening there, it's like we don't make you accountable. That's why I'm stopping you. So you gave me my answer. You haven't monitored the Omotoso case. So the last one is about the one of East London. If you can respond to that one, and I go to Commissioner Klobatla. After you respond in my last question, then I want Commissioner Klobatla to come in. I know she's deployed in KZN, and I don't know whether in Mpumalanga too, but I want you to respond to me first, and then go to Commissioner Klobatla.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of East London, I think East London's results have to be viewed in consideration of the fact that oftentimes there aren't the monitoring tools that require them to be able to monitor and bring the relevant results. So they have positive results because there aren't the monitoring tools that would then highlight the various issues that they would need to be aware of within their own province. You have to understand that the Eastern Cape, as you said, is a vast province, particularly in relation to rape. And in my meetings and conversations with the EC office, I've heard and discussed the issue of rape of elderly women as well, Chair. And one of the consistent issues in the Eastern Cape is around processing of evidence. The Eastern Cape depends on the Western Cape for the processing of forensic evidence. There is no forensic processing medical space. Let me put it that way. Those who are in the profession,
we are right.
Will
even
understand.
On the news. Yeah, it is all over the news. I think over the weekend and Monday, it's all over the news that there's a backlog. And I think the DA has opened up a case on yes.
Yes, Chair. So these were things that in various meetings with the EC office, conditions of even having simple things as having rape kits that we would understand. How do you collect evidence, and then how do you store evidence in rural context? So the issues that the Eastern Cape, so when I say that there are no tools to actually bring about the results that that would reflect a fuller picture. So the positive results are not necessarily that they are positive results, it's just, it is perhaps an indication that there is a lack of proper monitoring mechanisms within the province. And
even yourselves don't have it. Even CGE don't have it.
Sorry, Chair, I don't understand.
You don't have a monitoring tool even yourselves.
We have developed a monitoring tool through our recent APP, but that is still in the process of being approved through plenary on the 26th of March, Chair. But then
you don't have it. For now,
yes.
You don't have it.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
The issue of, you asked me a question around, I just want to check if it's, I remember it correctly, Chair, is the question of updated reports. Why do our reports come, they're very sort of the years in terms of between investigation and finalization. And that is a
I know that one. I was not specifically for asking it for you. I was asking the leadership and yourself, so that at least I make you aware.
Okay. Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I was not expecting you specifically. I was expecting that from the chair and the CEO to respond on that one.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, I think I wanted you to respond to the one of East London on why do you think East London gave positive results besides the high rate, the high levels of cases that they have on rape. Yeah. So you were responding to me that it's because they don't have a monitoring tool or so. That's how you were responding to me now.
Yes, Chair, they don't have a monitoring tool, but what I want to also make clear, Chair, that besides a monitoring tool, it's a multi-layered issue with the Eastern Cape. As I mentioned, I also wanted to mention to you that there's issues around how do they collect this evidence, how do they store this evidence, how do they ensure that as the Eastern Cape is such a vast, often geographically as well, how do they make sure that there is a, what do they say in law? There's a correct, so the evidence in terms of, you know, the cases that have been reported has, you know, are consistent and kept properly in order for final processing as well, because there isn't even storage facilities perhaps in rural areas. Some rural areas don't have police stations or even police visibility. And that is an issue. They have to travel quite a long distance in order to even be able to report a crime. So it's not merely a monitoring tool of registering how many cases have been reported, but at the back end of that is, how are people being enabled to access police, to access resources, let me put it that way, in order to be able to report cases where necessary. And that is, you've pointed out that one of the critical issues is one of geographical vastness of the province. And so the issues, even though they reported positive results, my response to you is that they're not monitoring in order to catch the negative results in themselves. I hope that response is adequate for the chair.
What you need to do as CGE, and because it's not Eastern Cape only, that is their geographical location is like that. We've got KZN and Northern Cape. I think Northern Cape and KZN and but I think there are other provinces who are like Eastern Cape. Maybe what you need to do as CGE, you need to come back to us and tell us what do you think your interventions should be. Yeah. How are you going to assist those people in doing your work as commissioners? Because that's what is important to us. So that even us, when we make recommendations to the House, remember when we make recommendations to the House, it's once it's adopted, the report is adopted by Parliament, it means that thing must happen. So we have developed our own tool as the Portfolio Committee on how are we going to trace and track resolutions that we have taken in the Portfolio Committee and make yourselves as CGE, the Department of Women and NYDA to account on all the resolutions that we have taken. We have crafted our own. It's not there, but we have done our own as the Portfolio Committee. So that's why what we need from you is how are you going to make interventions or work in those kinds of provinces? Because when they complain that they don't even know where is CGE, what is your mandate, what are you doing, how can they be assisted, and so on. We cover up and we are trying to explain, but you know, I'm sure we're doing it wrong. What we're supposed to have done is what we're doing today. But thank you, Commissioner Day. So we want to check the hours that commissioners are claiming vis-a-vis the work that you are doing. So we want to be sure exactly, so that if we are asked, you are claiming how many hours as commissioners, and what is it that you are doing? Not you only, but all of you. But thank you very much for acknowledging things that you haven't done as commissioners, and then we'll go back to Commissioner Tlobatla.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members, for the opportunity to respond. Yes, for a period of 3 months, I was a commissioner and a lead commissioner responsible for the Eastern Cape. When I was given that responsibility, I started by doing internal work, trying to understand deeply what in Eastern Cape entails, because my understanding was that there are common gender-related problems that we experience, all of us as a country, but each province has its specific challenges. So what I did, I sat down with the team. Firstly, I started internally, whereby I engaged with the provincial team and also explained to them the importance of responding both to, for lack of a better word, not so high-profile cases to high-profile cases, meaning all, need our attention at the end of the day. From there, we came up with a plan. Well, I did check also their implementation. As far as the strategic part is concerned, we worked on it. And I also educated them on how they can attend to grassroots people using the high impact programs that are in the implementation. What we did now, we started moving out, whereby we did what we call stakeholder engagement in the Eastern Cape, because I emphasized to the provincial team that it's imperative that I have these one-on-one meetings with our stakeholders, with our beneficiaries. It's also important for us as the Commission for Gender Equality to explain to them what is the expectation in line with their socio-economic situations, and also in line with the mandate of the Commission for Gender Equality, and also in line with the legislations that are guiding us as a country. I remember for a fact that we interacted with the legislature in the Eastern Cape. We had a fruitful meeting. I remember also the contact person in the Eastern Cape was MPL Fanta, who further introduced us to the Women Caucus in the province, where we sat down and dealt with issues of gender equality, gender equity, gender exploitation, gender transformation, gender parity, you name a few. Actually had a robust engagement as far as all these gender-related challenges that needs to be attended to. I was in close contact a lot, engaging with them. It was not only over the interactions that we had physically. I was also available for the Eastern Cape 24/7, because they would phone requesting information on 123 or advice on the following. I'm just speaking on my toes here. I remember also I was dealing with the Nelson Mandela municipality. My contact person in the Nelson Mandela municipality was Councillor Jugana. We had a very good relationship with the municipality, because they will engage me and involve me in their activities, and also we would involve them in the CGE activities. We had interaction working closely with the provincial manager, with the legal expert and the educator, where we even spent 1 or 2 days within the municipality, taking that opportunity to interact with stakeholders, the LGBTIQ+, we engaged with them. They shared the challenges that they are facing and how the legislations in the country they feel are not assisting them a lot, because they continue to be attacked, to be exploited, issues of corrective sex and so on, for a lack of a better word. Also in the Eastern Cape, I engaged with the first faith-based organization on the role that the church can play in the implementation and attainment of gender equality. And one church that I interacted a lot with was the Anglican Church, because they further requested further engagements with the Commission for Gender Equality, because through our engagement, they realized that they can learn a lot in transforming their churches and making sure that they play a role. I remember also with the Anglican Church, I worked closely with the Girl-Friendly Society, which is a good project that is done by the Anglican Church, which assists in grooming young girls to be assertive, to be responsible, to be future leaders, and also allowing the young girls within the Anglican Church to play their role in the society. In the Eastern Cape also, I remember I had interactions with Sangoko, where they shared, it was a civil society forum, where we shared best practices from each other and how we can replicate each other to ensure that issues of gender transformation are being attained in their respective provinces. The list is long. In one engagement, I remember that involved civil society. SALGA was there. There was an engagement. So there was supposed to be a further engagement, because in the input that I made on behalf of the CGE, SALGA indicated that they would love to have a further engagement with me to assist them on these gender-related challenges, issues of globalization, issues of gender relations, issues of economic empowerment for women, because in every platform where I was representing CGE, or in every stakeholder engagement, among other things that I was emphasizing, the issue of gender-based violence was always central. The link between gender-based violence and economic empowerment was very, very central. The follow-up meeting where I was supposed to go and meet SALGA, the backup commissioner was the one that was sent to go there and attend on my behalf. So Commissioner, at the present moment, is best placed to respond on that one, because I remember I did make a submission to go back to the Eastern Cape, but Commissioner, they got the opportunity to represent the Commission for Gender Equality in that regard. One thing that I shared in a candid but specific manner with the House of Traditional Leaders when I met with them was the issue of Ubutwala, because the issue of Ubutwala is very, very key in the Eastern Cape. I did find an opportunity where they were able to listen, but further engagements also in that regard were supposed to take place. But because within CGE we have a culture where we rotate commissioners, I ended up being the lead commissioner from Mpumalanga and the backup commissioner for KZN, no longer in the Eastern Cape. But I ended up telling people in the Eastern Cape that it's about time you give me a place here, because there were so many engagements and they bore positive results. The Eastern Cape, in short, does see the value of the Commission for Gender Equality. They appreciate the work, the support they are receiving from the Commission for Gender Equality. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members and commissioners. I hope what I've given so far does assist. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner Tlobatla. I want to give members an opportunity to speak now. Let me close this one. Honorable members, you can come in. Can I get your hands? Mamhlengwa, Honorable Masondo, Honorable Masiko, Honorable Mukweba, Honorable Mamsonti, Honorable Natasha, Mamhlengwa, Masondo, Masiko, Mukweba, Mamsonti, and Honorable Natasha. In that order, honorable members.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me greet you and honorable members.
Natasha, sorry, Natasha, you wanted to leave at 11.
I'm still good, Chair. I will let you know. I'm still good with time. It's
okay,
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, ma.
Thank you. Thank you. One would welcome the report for gender-based violence, but what is my disappointment is one, we are touching the sensitive of gender-based violence in Eastern Cape because Eastern Cape is not vast as other provinces, just like KZN, as I'm from KZN, but there is nothing done in the Eastern Cape. And I don't know why people who work usebenza kanjani nje ungenalo ithuluzi lokusebenza for monitoring okwenzayo. Ngikhathazekile ke ngalokho. And the other thing, the commissioner who's just reporting us is, we don't know whether he's alive or not because it didn't show her face to us. But we want this clarity of monitoring and what is she doing, actually doing there. Thank you.
You mean Commissioner Day? The first one, ma.
The first one, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Masondo, thank you, ma.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, CGE. Comrade Chair, sorry to say, Honorable Chair, I just have a concern. I understood your questions and you just taken others from us. But I think because you're a leader, you just read our minds before we talk. I just wanted to know from Limpopo, the Lisiho police station and the Buahomo police station, how many shelters are covered there so that we can know, because actually we must know per region, how many shelters did we make, other achievements in getting more shelters, because we forwarded the request before that shelters are a problem. Even in Eastern Cape is so vast, yes. The problems of Eastern Cape are so many, and especially in the GBV. So even if they have taken the Berlin police station and East London police station, we need to know again, how many shelters do we have there? And even if our commissioners are working, what are the constraints that are making them not to reach all the Eastern Cape, because Eastern Cape is so vast. And even in the Northwest, in the Rustenburg police station and Boite Kong police station, we must get even the number of shelters that we are having. Then I come with this, because I have seen that they were selected specifically from areas that service large communities, and in both urban and rural communities, areas with high rates of GBV. I'm back now to Mpumalanga. I just want to know the commissioner that is working from Mpumalanga, because last time when we were invited the councillors to be part of our meeting, they raised the issue for Likwa municipality in Gertsiband in Mpumalanga. They said it's very high rate of GBV, but we didn't get something in writing. We requested the councillor there to forward something black and white so that we can be included in this list, because we had 30 hotspots. We didn't get from Mpumalanga or Gertsiband. So I just want to get from the commissioner that is working there, how is it possible that they can just unpack what is going on in Mpumalanga, because we can't just thumbsuck if we are not included in the 30. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masondo. Honorable Masiko.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to yourself, the colleagues, honorable members, and everyone on the platform. Chair, I think let us firstly welcome the presentation from CGE. One has a number of questions that I would like to ask, of which the first one, Chairperson, and I raised it in last week's meeting that we had with CGE, when the commissioners were noting the fact that they do visit police stations, and those are some of the issues or concerns that they pick up during their visits. Which tells me, Chair, that, the report is a 2017 report. Commissioners were reporting on recent work that has been done, and you notice that nothing has changed. If ever, there is a slight change in other police stations. The question that I asked last week, Chair, and I don't think it was really sufficiently answered, was the CGE's engagement with the Department of Police, the minister, let me put it like that, probably the minister, the police commissioners, as well as the provincial police commissioners. Other concerns which are raised, Chair, are really addressing the issue of the conduct of police, which then would necessitate for CGE to also engage the body which is responsible for police and police conduct, which is IPID, and also the Civil Secretariat of Police. I think it's important, Chair, if we are picking up on such challenges, to check on whether there has been any formal engagement with these bodies and also structures and also individuals, but also the Portfolio Committee on Police on issues that have been raised in the report. One would also like to know, Chairperson, as a second question, on what the state of the GBV registers are across the country in the police stations, if a CGE has a picture on that. We note, Chairperson, that the report in the main addresses issues on GBV relating to women particularly, but we're not really hearing anything on children and persons with disabilities, on whether they are being accommodated, or when we are saying women, we are just applying a blanket term across for the vulnerable groups, which in the main is children and persons with disabilities. The other question, Chairperson, is relating to the work or collaboration between CGE and NGO in the provinces, especially around issues of gender-based violence. One would like to know on whether there is any work being done or any working relations which have been established with non-profit organizations and NGOs at down in provinces. For instance, you have East London, Masimanyane. Is there any working relation relating to that? Lastly, Chairperson, one would like to know on whether or not CGE has had an opportunity to engage with IPID stats and actually compare it with police station stats that they have visited to see whether there are concerns, whether the concerns which were raised, just have a comparison on whether the stats that are held by the police stations and those of IPID are, comparable, and whether to compare the complaints that CGE receives in these provinces have been captured correctly and are being attended to. Chairperson, I think one would stop there in terms of the questions. If there are any returns, I will make, because I've got other questions that I'd like to ask. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, I think the other question, Honorable Masiwa, I thought you were going to ask is whether when they visited the police station, they've checked whether there is anybody who's helping people living with disability in terms of sign language and so forth.
Yes, Chair, that was my other question that one would have asked if there was a second round.
Okay, can I allow you to continue to ask? Okay.
Yes, Chair. Chair, the question that one would like to ask is in relation to, and it's linked to the first question that I asked in terms of attending to persons with disabilities. If they are given a service, should they present themselves at any police station across the country? Would they be able to receive the assistance of a sign language interpreter so that they're able to present their cases.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Masigo. Honorable Mkweba.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mkweba. Mkweba usesekhona or mara ngiyambona usesekhona la. Mkweba?
Hlushwa network, qeda kumkhipha.
Oh, ceda kumkhipha. Okay, let's have Honorable Mamsonti. Honorable Mamsonti.
Thank you, Chairperson.
All right.
Nibulise nonke, Chairperson. Oh.
Mkweba, you're back.
Yes, yes, Chair.
Okay.
Okay.
Network. Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I will be very quick. Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, and the CGE. Chair, let me welcome the presentation by the CGE. And in fact, I've got only two issues to raise. One about the matter of the Eastern Cape. For Commissioner Busisiwe Day, the area is in the Emalahleni in Lady Frey in the Tembei village. That's where there are boys that were then communicated with us that they are raping and the older women and men of that area. So they can follow up, and you'll understand that in one discussion there was a summit in Parliament where one a member of the executive from the Eastern Cape, also in our discussion with yourself and myself and her, then confirmed that there are issues in the Itembeni village in the deep rural, yes, in the Eastern Cape. And secondly, Chair, you've raised an important issue on the CGE dealing with on their interest of dealing with cases of national interest and not those small cases. And I heard you raising an issue of one old woman in the area of Tsakane and Duduza, Umamu Mkhonza. And I so wish that before I log out, Umamu Uhara can also brief the committee in terms of the developments in the case of Umamu Mkhonza. That is in Springs Court. And secondly, Chair, on the issues that has been presented by the CGE, I understand the methodology and the research that only 6 police stations agreed to participate in their study. But however, I've got a problem when there are findings of these police stations that while they understand issues of gender-based violence and femicide, and they've presented to them the awareness programs, they also, as the CGE established that the implementation part of it, they are not convinced because they say the effectiveness is not established. Then my question to them, now that they've then picked up that there are strategies of awareness raising campaigns, but not established, what is going to happen then? Because, we can't run away to the fact that gender-based violence and femicide is rife in South Africa. And secondly, Chair, I think I must agree with you when you said that, and in fact, it's a long discussion from this committee that the Department of Police and also the Department of Justice, they must at any time appear before this committee so that we must be able to raise some of the concerns, because I know that the presentation by the CGE was that urban police stations, they are well-resourced leaguers. There's well-resourced leaguers, but however, there are challenges in rural areas. Therefore, it means, where challenges of gender-based violence and violence against women and children, they arrive mainly in rural areas and in townships. Therefore, if we've got police stations that are not well resourced according to the presentation, then how are we going to deal with issues of gender-based violence? Then I think I agree with you that we must make sure that as a committee, then we invite the two departments, the Department of Justice and Police, so that we must find out why the urban area police stations are well resourced than the police stations in the rural areas. And I agree with one commissioner who raised an issue of police stations in the rural areas. For example, I must make an example by Tembey as an example in rural areas where the police station is either in Dordrecht or in Queenstown. And remember, that area is in deep rural areas of Lady Frey in the Eastern Cape. And also, that's what the issue that has been raised by Umam Mhlengwa, that rural areas, they are not only in the Eastern Cape where we say they are vast. Even in all the other provinces that are rural, your KZN, your Mpumalanga, your Limpopo, then you can ask yourself as members of the portfolio committee, what is happening on those areas, especially on issues of gender-based violence. But I think, Chair, seemingly in terms of what has been presented here, we must agree as the portfolio committee that there are a lot of challenges in these police stations. And at the end of the day, it's us that must go and make sure that there's oversight and accountability. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mkweba. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mam Sonti.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson.
Let me greet you, Chairperson and honorable members. Firstly, Chairperson, I would like to apologize.
For last week, I just log off in the meeting before we end the committee because of some problems. I think, Chairperson, we are the leaders, we know that we are not depending on one things. All the things of the community must attend. So when the time comes, we must attend. So last week, but I also told Commissioner Natasha as my leader in the portfolio committee for now. Okay, Chairperson, ndingene kwi-presentation.
Go to the presentation.
Undixolele, Chair.
Yeah.
Did you forgive me, Chair?
Yeah, Mam Sonti.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma.
All right. Chairperson, in the communities, the communities or the victims are lost their hopes from the police for their help because of these police on how they hold and treat the victims when they brought their cases. Firstly, in many police stations, is their attitude they got. And they take their time even to go and intervene or to help to the scene or the place where is the problem is. Chairperson, the service in the police station is very, very, very poor. More especially in this issue of GBV. The cases are just disappear and the perpetrators are always safe and happy, roving around the communities without any fear. Number two, Chairperson. For example, where the CGE talks about the female station commander, I remember something, Chairperson. I will talk about my place where I'm staying in Marikana. The relationship between female police and the male police, it's not really good. In the couple of few months, there was a female station commander in my village, in my place, which is Marikana. But she ended up leaving the police station, went to another because of the pressure she got. She was having, she was having those pressures because of this police she was working with. She was working very hard and commanding there, but she was not happy. I think also they were undermining her as she was a female. Others said, no man, lo muntu usekhulile, umdala, but abe yena elandelela ezi zinto chairperson bazenzayo zingekho
But
right.
following these things that are wrong that they were doing.
Everywhere, chairperson, the woman is undermined, no matter she is educated or not. Number 3, chairperson, gender-based violence. I think it's happened to the women most of the time in all the provinces. But my problem, the stations are full of men rather than the female. Why the women or the female police has only a small space in this police station? Dithethe chairperson, ndicacise kanje.
Let me explain like this. The cases
GBV, domestic
like
violence, perpetrators ziyazithenga kulama
the
police.
perpetrators, they do buy those in police.
So kuphelele zinyamalala
And
ziphelela
they end up
esifubeni.
disappearing.
We know those things ziyenzeka chairperson.
They are happening.
UCGE ndimve ekhuluma nge-CPF, which is Community Police Forum.
CGE, talking about CPF.
Chairperson, there is no more CPF in the communities because of lack of the resources. So now this, there is no one who want to work or to play that role. Whilst are not safe, they cannot work without a protected. They are killed by the criminals. So I think if they can be provided by the resources, they can work for the community again, such as reflectors, amabicycle, impempe whistles, and stipend also. Okokugqibela ke chairperson ndihlala ndisitsho okokubana i-rural areas azithathelwa ngqalelo, azikhathalelwanga.
Rural areas, they don't take care of them.
In all the corners. So ndiyabulela Honorable Mgweba xa uyivezile lo ndaba. It was my last comment.
About that.
Thank you so much, my chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mam Sonti. Over to you, Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the report is very interesting. And if it's true, what you are saying in terms of the date of the report, there is a report of 2018-2019 information. It is actually very concerning, very much concerning, because we are in 2021 currently. And if we're gonna go on a study that is so old and outdated, it's very concerning. Then, Chair, I'd like to thank you also for your intervention in the complaint I sent you over the weekend that happened here in Khayelitsha police station, involving that young lady that were brutally assaulted, and the police involvement in that case. for not reporting the issue and not playing an active role to get her perpetrators in the matter. Thank you very much for your fast response in that matter.
You're welcome.
Now, Chair, the one of Eastern Cape in terms of, and it's very concerning for me, what the Commissioner have mentioned there in terms of traditional leaders. And it speaks to that, like, we are talking about inclusive country and environment. And if we still have a commissioner that can't do her work because of her sexual preference, it's very much concerning. Very, very, very much concerning. Then it speaks to some work or some training needs to be done in our traditional space. We can't have still in this era be chosen as women what to wear and what not to wear, whether it's a traditional space, whether it's a workspace, or whether it's wherever, because now they are preventing her from doing her work actively because of her sexual preference. I take it very offensive from the traditional leaders as well. In terms of these areas, and some work of engagement needs to be done in that area to say that and talk with and have training with our traditional leaders in terms of opening up the space in terms of gayness and lesbianness and all of that. So we can't have that, Chair. Now, on the other side, I want to also agree with Mam Sondo in terms of the shelters arranged. That information is very crucial, Chair, that we get that information is to see, narrow down where is this shelters and also do an effective oversight in all of the shelters if we get it, the breakdown per region. Now, in terms of my question is, we have 1,154 police stations in the country, Chair. Mm-hmm. And this study shows we have gotten only 6 police stations. Why did we specifically only take that 6 to form the study? Noting that we have 1,154 police stations in the country. 6 and 1,000 is very vast. So maybe the CGE have a perfectly good explanation, but it will be nice to hear why specifically only that 6. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Natasha. I see, Honorable Hlongo. Honorable Hlongo, your hand is up, ne?
Yebo, ngiyabonga Sihlalo. Thank you very much, Chair. I think you've covered me a lot initially with all the questions you raised on CGE. But also to agree with Honorable Mkweba and Umam Sonti that most of the time CGE recognizes the cases that hit social media platforms and other media platforms. And we have cases in the rural areas that are not attended to. There's no attention that those cases get. That is why you then find perpetrators out within 2 weeks, which is a problem to the victims because perpetrators are not taken in. And another matter that I experienced, Chair, during now in lockdown was that most perpetrators were not taken in. Police would say they cannot arrest them because their cells are full. They are adhering to COVID-19 regulations. So also can CGE look into that matter because most victims were sent home, we cannot take them in because we are an item, go and speak, get a protection order. COVID-19 regulation do not allow us to take them in ourselves as small. Those were the things I wanted to bring to the attention of the CGE. Thanks, Chair.
Were you assisted with that case of children?
Yes, Chair. Even now, social development was calling me for directions to those kids, Chair.
Yeah, you need to brief us so that we know our interventions have worked.
Okay, Chair, I will brief you after, because it is now that they called me for assessment. They are going to do an assessment there, and then from there I'll get the feedback, Chair, and then I'll brief the committee.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, honorable members. And you know, the issue that Honorable Natasha have raised now in terms of traditional leaders not allowing Honorable Day to do her work, I think it's something that can be investigated because even the one that also reflects in their report where they say some police stations were not refused to allow them to do their research. They can also furnish us with the names, and also maybe even Honorable Commissioner Day can also give us the places and where she wanted to do work, and she was barred not to proceed in doing her work. So because you can't work with general statements, you know, general statements are wrong, because sometimes you'll talk about something, but when you ask who pill up and you are not able to say la it's akane or it's hwane. So what we need is that if you can be assisted, furnished with the names of the places where Commissioner Day was not allowed to do her work. And then even the researchers, they can tell us where were they prohibited not to do their research. And because I'm not sure, there can be correct that a CGE is not allowed to do their work when they are a Chapter 9 institution. So even them, they must also furnish us with the names of the police stations where they were refused to cooperate with them. But maybe what we can do now is to give the CGE an opportunity to respond. Mamsonti, isandla sakho sisaphezulu or ilesa sikhathi? Masiko, isandla sakho sisaphezulu or it's another round?
Ilesa sikhathi, Chair, sorry.
Okay.
Nami ilesa sikhathi, Chair, it's the old hand. I'll put it down now.
Okay, yes, Lisani Genong. I will now hand over to CGE to respond.
Chairperson, can I respond? It's Mbuyiselo from Limpopo.
Sorry. Oh, yes. Sorry, Commissioner Botha, you can respond, but we were going to just do a lineup in terms of response so that it's coordinated. But I think you can go on and then we will come back. Thanks, Chair.
You wanted to say something, Chair?
Chair, yes, Chair. Usually we do a lineup so that commissioners can respond on specific questions and specific areas where they can respond effectively. But I think since Commissioner Botha is on the floor, he can go ahead and then we will then do the lineup, Commissioner, so that all commissioners are able to respond. Thanks,
Okay.
Chair.
All right. Commissioner Botha?
Chairperson, thank you so much. And also thanks.
Commissioner Day, your hand is up. May you please lower it? Busisiwe.
I've lowered it, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, continue, Babu Botha.
Chairperson, thank you so much. Just to appreciate the opportunity, Chairperson. but also I want to say that I feel excited, Chairperson, what you are doing to us, holding us accountable. I just want to share that excitement. I love it, Chairperson. It's as if that's what we can do almost every day to the committee. So I just feel that I just want not the other things. I'm just saying that I'm excited about holding us accountable. Chairperson, there's a response that I need to give immediately to you now, to your question. You raised the researchers. There is a law that says that if you want to go to police stations, you need to centralize your research. Now, we had a problem recently, which I would like you to immediately note it, Chairperson. We had a problem where Dr. Rapo and his team were not allowed to go to certain police stations in the Eastern Cape, in Limpopo. Why? Because there is a law that says that it must be centralized, that the commission or whoever, if you want to, there is a kernel. I can get you the number. There's a kernel who is based at the head office in Pretoria. You must talk to first. So you can't. And I spoke to the provincial commissioner in Limpopo, no joy. I was taken from pillar to post. That this law says that no one can approach individual police stations, Chairperson and honorable members, so that you know our difficulties on the ground. Now,
is it written in black and white, Babu Poth?
I don't know. That's what they said to me. And when I spoke to the provincial commissioner, he gave me someone, the colonel in his office in Limpopo. And the colonel said, look, speak to, and I can now give you from my phone. He said to me, look, speak to this colonel in Pretoria. You are not, your members are not allowed to speak to us individual police stations because research, according to them, it has to be centralized. I'm just trying to say police, so that I give you a chapter and verse, a name.
Can you do that officially to us, Babu Potha?
Sorry, Chair?
Officially, a letter as
Okay.
a portfolio committee.
No, I'll do that.
We can forward it to the relevant department.
I think for process and protocol, I will give this information to my chairperson and she can give it to you. I felt that I must respond immediately, that there are these real issues that our researchers are faced with, chairperson, so that it's not a sad thump. I'm saying this in front of you and then so that I'm on record, chairperson. Yeah. Having said that, chairperson, I want to respond. There is specific questions around Limpopo and shelters. Here's and I hope members would note, chairperson, there's only one shelter. It's in Polokwane, in Limpopo. It's called Kuseleka, only one.
For the whole province?
The whole province, but just for context, let's just for context, chairperson, so that we don't misinterpret this. For context, the others are VEPs, Victim Empowerment Centers, which are in different police stations. But there's only one. It has only one stop center where victims can stay for about 6 months. And this is Limpopo. And obviously, the VEPs, chairperson and other members, the VEPs are just overnight shelters for victims of GBV. The one that they are allowed to stay for 6 months, put it on record, chairperson, it is called Kuseleka. It is in Polokwane. Now, honorable members and chairperson, in the VEP VEP centers in Limpopo are the following, and here are their numbers. You have in the Capricorn district, you have 9 of those VEPs. In Mupani, you have 18 of those. In Sekhukhune, you have 12. In Waterberg, you have 10. In Vembe, you have 23.
Babu Potha, you are slimas.
Am I going too far?
Mupani 18.
Mascari Chairperson, VEP in Limpopo, remember victim empowerment centers, which are located within police stations, Chairperson. They are the following: Capricorn, 9.
Yeah.
Mupani, Chairperson, honorable members, 18.
Okay.
Sekhukhune, 12.
Okay.
Waterberg, 10.
Okay.
Vembe, 23. And those are our districts in the province, all of them, Chairperson.
Okay.
That's one question for Limpopo on police stations and VEPs and shelters, Chairperson. But I also want to take the opportunity to respond to Honorable Masiko about for us about the police station, about the police, both the provincial and the minister and the commissioner of police. Just to say, Chairperson, that we have Honorable Masiko, what we call investigative hearings. Now, Chairperson, what happens in those hearings is, Honorable Masiko, we would call the commissioner of police to come and account on the state of police stations in the country, but also generally the workings or lack thereof of the police in the country. So these investigative hearings, honorable members, honorable Masiko, they give us an insight as to are they working, are they not working? And I think, and the chairperson and my colleagues would actually collaborate or contradict me. So these investigative hearings, honorable members, chairperson, they give us a bird's eye view as to what's lying in the different police stations in the country. So that's why we call them to account, chairperson. But also and I'm going to say on our work with NGOs on GBV, members would probably have heard what the president continued to talk about, the men's parliament. Now, because, Honorable Masiko, we don't have resources, what we do or what we have done as a CGE, you have what we call Takuani Rime. It's Takuani Rime, it's with it, you find it, social development funds it nationally. Now, Takuani Rime has got immense programs in the different 9 provinces that are led by different premiers, MECs on what they call men's parliament. Now, Honorable Masiko, the men's parliament, which you would always hear the president referring to, they seek to mobilize, galvanize Amadoda, Bontate in stopping GBV. So insofar as working for our footprint, we would work, we would piggyback working with Takwani Rime, which is housed within the office of the deputy president, together with the office of the deputy minister of social development. They are coordinating. So I, with the permission, obviously, from the chairperson, could always represent CGE in all, as we do all of these men's parliament in the different provinces. So that's insofar as working with NGOs and
your chairperson is representing you in all the provinces.
No. I'm saying no. I'm just saying I attend Takwani Rime of the men's parliament on behalf of given permission by the chairperson, so that she knows where I am, what am I doing, so that I'm accountable to her. Like I said to you, I would have to give this report I'm giving to you now to her, so that she can directly speak to you, chairperson. So that was explaining the 2 matters on NGO from my side. And I know that, and I will not speak on behalf of other colleagues, I know that colleagues are doing a lot of work in terms of with stakeholders. Commissioner Ntuli Tobata has directly spoken to it. I mean, her work once she was in the province. And I know that colleagues do this almost every day in terms of working with stakeholders. Chairperson, I think I'll stop there. If there are any questions from Limpopo, I'm available to answer them, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Botha. Honorable Masiko.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry to disturb. I do have a follow-up question to Commissioner Botha's response, especially relating to the issue of the investigative hearings that he's referring to. Dr. Botha, thank you for that response. And one has a bit of an idea of your engagement, or at what level you engage with the Department of Police. The reason why I was asking the question, Chair and Commissioner, was for us to ensure that the police, the Department of Police or the police are held accountable in terms of them responding to the findings that you get from your investigations. Now, I'm getting that they are only engaged at a level of or when CGE is conducting investigations. The follow-up question, Chair, is that having done the investigations and then have done the findings and concluded the reports and with the recommendations, do you then, Commissioner, go back to the very same police commissioners to table your findings and your recommendations so that they know them clearly and they are held accountable for them responding adequately to what you have recommended and your findings? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masiko. I think the other thing that I wanted to raise is the violation of a right, Commissioner Day, by gender discrimination, and that was done by the traditional leaders of the Eastern Cape. So that one will refer it back to CGE that they must investigate so that she cannot be treated unfairly as a commissioner. She must be free to do her job. No one has got the right to stop her in doing her job. Thank you, Honorable Masiko. Babu Botha, you want to respond?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you so much. And thank again, Honorable Masiko, for the follow-up. Chairperson, I must admit, and my colleagues on the platform from the commissioners will actually either contradict or confirm. Chairperson, there's one difficulty, and I've been here since 2014, both as a part-time and full-time. Chairperson, Honorable Masiko, I don't think the institutions of government, they respect CGE. Honorable members, I don't think that, and I'll use a language colloquially that I don't think I don't think they respect the CGE and our powers. I mean, the investigative hearings, Masiko, that we do this and give them, I mean, we would have, this is how it's constituted. We would have a report that says, this is what we've done as a commission. And Commissioner Sithole, this is what's happening in your different police stations. Can you act? There are time frames. I bet you a penny to a pound, honorable members. I mean, on a single day, have I heard them coming back and say, look, these are the measures that we have put in place to respond and to correct what your findings. So I'm saying here, Honorable Masiko, that for me, there's a cry for help, and probably it's not out of your fault. Maybe we haven't exercised our own rights. Maybe we haven't said, but because Commissioner Sithole and Minister Cele, you have not implemented this, we will take legal action, we'll enforce, we'll go to court. Maybe we haven't. And I remember in my interview for the second term, that's precisely what I said. I don't think at CGE we really, honorable members, use the law that we have at our disposal. We are cautious to a fault. I don't know why.
Anilumi, iti anilumi.
No. I don't know Retaba because there are political ramifications. I don't know Retaba because Arabatu Khadi Pampiring, Arabatu Yako, for review. So Mema Siko, all I'm saying, I don't even remember. And Chairperson and colleagues in there can actually contradict me. I don't remember the police, Commissioner Atlare. You know what? I am sorry, I have not done XYZ. Really do it. Otherwise, we'll enforce this. I don't remember a single day rates at all. Chairperson, you can only help us when we help ourselves. If these reports come to them and they don't do anything, I don't think it's your fault. I don't think committee honorable members can actually blame themselves. We have to blame ourselves. I sit here and stand here in front of you and say, Rona, and again need to use your words, Chairperson, Harelumi. I don't know, because it's political considerations. We don't want to upset. We want to be continuous in the books. I don't know, because I can't say that we don't understand the law. I'll stop there, Chairperson.
Yeah, it means we have recommended wrong people to serve as commissioners to the president as parliament, because you see, I'm grateful that Babu Botha, you are acknowledging your weaknesses as a commission, because sometimes even ourselves, we are like you, not to hold you accountable on some things that you did not enforce when you were supposed to enforce the law. Because you are a commission, a Chapter 9 institution, you are independent from any political influence. So there is nothing that is stopping you from doing your work. In fact, one thing that we have observed as the portfolio committee is that you don't even make follow-ups. What we'll do, we'll write down things that we have said, we have taken resolutions about, and send them to you so that you can see how many things that we have resolved on, and we haven't done anything about them. And criticizing people constructively doesn't end any friendship or relationships, no. But sometimes it depends with an individual. When things are raised in a portfolio committee, how do you take them? A positive mind will always be productive and do correct where you are supposed to correct, and go and improve where there's a need for improvement. But when you come to the portfolio committee and we raise things and you are negative, your attitude is negative, that's where you won't do all the things that you're supposed to be doing. Because Tina, you have our backing, you have our support. When you do your work, we will support you. We'll leave no stone unturned, because you are doing your work. So nobody must intimidate you when you are doing your work. Tina, we are going to be on your neck, so that at least you know you must do things. Niyatanda anitandi, you must do things. But thank you very much for your response. I see Honorable Tlobatla. Chair, let me allow you also to, because some honorable commissioners, their hands are not up, but let me allow Honorable Tlobatla to speak and then hand over to you so that you can line up. Please be mindful of time, because we want to ensure that all commissioners who are here, whoever needs to respond to certain issues, you are responding, you are accountable, you are accounting to the portfolio committee. But also, all members, all the questions that are raised by honorable members, they must be responded to without any waste of time. Over to you, Honorable Commissioner Klobatla.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Commissioners, and honorable members. Yeah, there were questions that were raised to where we are supposed to respond for specific provinces, like the work that we do at grassroots level, because it looks like we are attending to high-profile cases. Well, as far as Mpumalanga is concerned, we do attend to all the people, irrespective of a level of the need. We have this structure that is called Amakosikati that we work with. These are the wives of the chiefs and the kings. Our concern here, we realize that the Amakosikas, there is a high expectation from them, whereas they don't have resources. So we work close with the Office of the Premier. We ended up handing them over to COGTA, whereby COGTA has ongoing support with the structure of Amakosikati. But it doesn't mean CGE is no longer communicating with them. There is ongoing communications and work that we do with the structure of Amakosikati. Then the other structure that we are working with is widowhood. I remember for a fact also we had a physical engagement with widowhood November last year, where the widows whose husband were working for government, they raised concerns about the income tax, that they usually find themselves at a lower level. But as soon as their husbands or spouses, let me say, are deceased, but those that were there were women, they find themselves being moved to a higher bracket of taxation, and that creates financial constraints for them. In assisting them, we realized that the experts in this area is SARS. We had an engagement physically, but social development and SARS were virtual. But the CG offices and myself, we met them in the office where we work closely with them in dealing with this. So there is ongoing work on this one. On the issue of cases, we do support cases. Some come through the media, but our emphasis on cases, we attend to cases based on accord and based on them being reported to the Commission for Gender Equality. There's a lot of cases that we are working on. There's one that is current at White River that involves a girl that was questioned on issues of a dress code. I remember also there's a case, the one of the albino whose body parts were used for multi-purposes. We were monitoring that as the Commission for Gender Equality, and it's safe to mention that that Inyanga has passed away, but the matter is now with the NPA, where they need to take a resolution as far as that particular matter is concerned. The issue of the young girl that was raped at Harsibande at a police station on Women's Day, 9 August 2020, we are active on that case as a Commission for Gender Equality. So there is ongoing work. We are doing all of this. I can mention a lot of cases that are active that we are monitoring, but for the sake of time, I will pause with the ones that I've just mentioned. Then on gender transformation and gender-based violence, we work with Abu Ghraib and other structures in the province. We also have this structure. I will have to read it here because I can't pronounce it well. Imvoka ayiphumele ebaleni, nenye lusango lemafoka, and there's another structure at Nkangala from a faith-based organization. We work with them whereby we sensitize men and the boys on the issues of gender transformation and gender-based violence. There's a lot, Masipepeni Network, Wabuta Advice Center, a number of centers we are working with in the 3 districts as a Mpumalanga. Then I think I will pause there. Yeah, on the issue of our police station, a question was raised around Iligwa. Yeah, when we received the 30 hotspots, we did realize that Mpumalanga is not appearing there. And then on realizing that, I remember having a conversation with a chairperson around that issue. Then the latest that we discussed with the chairperson around Ligwa police station matter was that we were supposed to go to Iligwa just to investigate practically as the Commission for Gender Equality. There is ongoing work on this one. But the things that were happening, because on that time when we were supposed to finalize issues around Ligwa between myself and the CEO, we had these visits of the Women Charter reviews in the province. So one didn't want to interfere a lot with the diary. But we are aware about the issue of Iligwa. We are on point when it comes to it. As soon as we visit together with the backup commissioner, we will give a report to the portfolio committee. I will pause there. I don't want to take much time, and thank you very much, honorable members, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner Trobatla. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I just want to, before the lineup, Chairperson, just to clarify 1 or 2, 3 key issues following on the submission made by Commissioner Botha, and I won't contradict you, Commissioner Botha, but I just want to say that on the issue of CGE seen not to to have teeth, I think this is an ongoing conversation, Chairperson, that we are having in the institution. For an example, last year, November, December, we had investigative hearings for the last third quarter. And I think we reflected very much on this, Chair, to say, if we are seen not to be taken seriously, when do we begin to invoke Section 12 or Section 18 of the Act? And this is high time that we should actually be doing that as the Commission, so that both the private and the public sector can actually take us seriously. We even reflected, and I know that Commissioner Botha was there, Commissioner Sepanya Mokhale was there. We even talked about the types of questions that we need to put forward when we have these investigative hearings, so that they are able to yield response. So, as the chair, as we go forward, and we are really trying to invoke, and I must say that as we speak, we have invoked the section for one TVET college that did not respond positively to us or did not even appear during the investigative hearing. So, we can see our weaknesses and we are working on them.
Okay.
On the very same, perhaps, a submission made by Commissioner Botha, Chair, I think he is very right to say that besides just doing investigative hearings with SAPS, what we did in 2019, in fact, in 2018, September, October, we called the leadership of SAPS in the form of General Ketastole, and he came with 5 members, senior members, and who are the deputies, our abaki. So it was 3 males, 2 females. And we sat down. That was just besides Honorable Masiko, just besides the hearings. So we had that conversation. We raised a number of issues. And in May 2019, we called the general and all his 5 deputies, and we called all 9 provincial commissioners to come and have a meeting with us. And that was not
I got a missed call there, then I returned the call.
Masondo ungasukeli.
Yes.
Masondo ungasukeli.
Sorry, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was saying that in May, that was followed up by the meeting of the senior leadership of the South African Police, led by General, and there were major generals there, and then there were also police commissioners from all 9 provinces. So what we tabled in that meeting, Chair, were quite a number of issues that have been raised by honorable members. Raised issues of, resourcing police stations, training of police and building capacity in terms of dealing with violence against women's cases. We raised issues of how police themselves are treating each other. And I think this was raised by Commissioner or Honorable Sondi
Yeah,
are actually treated differently. So, Chair, we had that meeting, and it really yielded quite a lot of discussions, and we asked them to go back in all 9 provinces to go and make sure that in 2019, 2020, they do their own investigations and they can confirm what we have discovered. I think that was another issue that we looked at. Chair, very quickly, I think Honorable Ntlangeni asked about the number of, why only 6 police stations that we investigated out of more than 1,600. Chair, I want to say that first and foremost, the study focused on 12. That was our initial bit of looking at police station, and I know that the number is still very far too low. But I must also indicate that 6 of the 12 declined, Chair, and I want to give you the names of those that declined. The first one that declined police station was in Gauteng, and the name of the police station was called Yeoville Police Station. And then we had another one at Duduza in Albertine. So that was the second police station that declined participating in our study. Then we went to the
Duduza police. Duduza, angisho yazikhona Duduza.
Yes, Chair. Yes.
Awushi Duduza SNHL.
No, Chair. No, the one in Albertine.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. That was the 2. The third one that declined participating, Chair, is in the Eastern Cape as well, Mdantsane Police Station in the Eastern Cape. And the last one was in Polokwane, the Polokwane Police Station, Limpopo. Then the 6th one, Chair, that declined was Tlhabane Police Station in Northwest. So those were the few police stations that we initially looked at, and 6 declined, and we continued with 6. And I want to substantiate the Polokwane Police Station, Chair.
Oh, Polokwane.
Yes, Chair.
Okay,
Chair.
There's somebody calling me.
It's Honorable Sangwin.
Okay.
Chair, I just want to check, maybe perhaps what was the reasons for declining? If while the commissioner is answering, or the chair is answering, can you just elaborate what was the reasons for declining, and then what was the recalls of because you can't have, we have identified 12 and then 6 have declined, and then you just said, what was the recalls? Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, just to respond to Honorable Tangwini, the police stations were not ready to participate, Chair, and the earlier submission made by Commissioner Botha to say, if you knock on the doors of these police stations, sometimes you are asked to go back to a central person in the province, and that ends there, Chair. So I think that was without actually giving main reasons. If police stations would tell you that we can't participate in your research, you need to go and see so and so. So we will not actually budge. We will not even allow you to come in here as researchers. So those are some of the reasons that we sometimes come back with a Chair when we go to these police stations.
IT, please allow Masiko back.
Chair, they've allowed me back in. Thank you.
Okay.
They've just allowed me. Thanks.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Yes, Chair. And in terms of the recalls, this is also something that we did raise with the senior management or the senior leadership of the police when we met them. That there was just a lack of cooperation, no detailed responses given, and so one of the things that we did, Chair, was to report this to the Portfolio Committee of Justice. And I must say that I think one of the questions, and maybe one of the issues you raised yourself, Chair, was that whether this report has been tabled like the report on sterilization to the portfolio committee. Yes, the report has been submitted and tabled in the portfolio committee on justice, and this was one of the major concerns that we tabled at that portfolio committee. The lineup, Chair, that I would like us to perhaps look at, Chair, is around the fact that I would like to start with Commissioner Sepanya Mohale to respond on the question raised by Honorable Masiko on what stages yes, I think it was saying that at what stages is the state of the police stations and the national registers are at, and also, in terms of police stations. Commissioner Mohale will actually respond to this, as she has just moved in and looked at the police stations following the announcements of the 30 hotspots. So she will provide what was actually observed in terms of the state of police stations and the national registers, so far as this is concerned. So Commissioner Mohale will respond, and she would like to excuse herself. She's not feeling well. I think that's why I'm starting with Commissioner Mohale. I will then ask Commissioner O'Hara Ngoma Diseko. I know that she excused herself. In the absence of Commissioner Ngoma Diseko, I would request Commissioner Mazibuko to respond on the follow-up work that they did at Zagane in Dabakama Mumponza. So there was quite a lot of work that was done there and follow-ups that they have done. And I'm quite happy with the work that the two commissioners have done as well in following up this case. Also, Commissioner Mazibuko will respond on whether there is any accommodation of persons with disabilities in police stations in terms of sign language. This is also something that we have been looking at and following up, and Commissioner Mazibuko will actually make a follow-up on that one. Can I pause here for now, Chair, and allow the two commissioners to go on? Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I'm sure before I forget, Honorable Ntlangwini and Mamsonti, today the subcommittee on NYDA, we are sitting at 18 hours. So we need a member from the EFF who will be part of that subcommittee, because previously it was Mam Kaula, and she's no longer the member of the committee. So we need one person from the EFF who will be part of the subcommittee. We're sitting at 6, so that Neliswa can send the logins to the member who's going to sit on that panel.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much. Yes, Chair. I was put forward as from the website to sit on the committee, so Neliswa can send it to me.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. It's Commissioner Mohale here. Chair, as my chair has explained, I just want to rush to discuss. No, Chair, I'm not wearing a pajama. I'm holding my iPad. I just want to rush to Discab and get medication, so I will sneak out and come back.
Okay.
Yeah, with regards to police stations, we, as I explained last week, we have been working very closely with the police stations in the Free State, and contrary to what is happening elsewhere, we're getting a lot of cooperation from them. For example, we have met with the commissioners, we have met with the heads of FCS in the Welcome area, in the Bloemfontein area, and we have also had cooperation with regards to some of the cases that we have referred to them, one of which was a lady who was accommodated at a shelter, and the husband was threatening and going to the shelter and threatening and to break in and harassing her. and CGE intervened from the level of the commissioner, and this was done. So we do relate quite well with them, and we work very well with them. But we also meet with them regularly to give feedback. During the height of COVID, I think last year, July, we actually met with both NPA and the police again to give them feedback about the work that we are doing, and we have been invited to different structures. Unfortunately, those structures were not sitting as a result of COVID. So we do meet with them, and we have those discussions. I also just want to explain that we do give feedback as well, as particularly with regards to the issue of the shelter. On Thursday, the 25th of February, some 2 weeks ago, we met with the MEC of Social Development in the Free State to give feedback about some of the challenges that are happening at the shelter. We were giving up about different things, including the VEPs, but one of the items on the agenda was the issue of shelters, which we discussed extensively in their VEP rooms, and the feedback from us is usually well received, I must say. So we are in communication with them at that level. Without taking the opportunity from Commissioner Mazibuko, one of the things that we were discussing with them as we are visiting the hotspots was about what do they do, how do they respond when women come with a disability to report a violation. We were told that unfortunately they rely on NGOs. If there are no NGOs at that point in time, it becomes a problem. It goes back to that issue that we're raising, where women will be told, come back later, or we can't help you, or write your statement, or whatever improvisation that gets done at that time. The only police stations that are helped readily are the ones around the University of Free State in the Greater Bloemfontein area, because the university has provided them with those kinds of services. But in terms of others, it is very ad hoc and reactive, and one wonders how many disabled women who use sign language, who use Braille and all of that, who actually abandon their cases because they actually feel it's futile. Then one other thing, Chair, when I say Chair, I mean Commissioner Matebula, I just thought I should take the opportunity to also clarify the research issue on the timelines. We have actually acknowledged as the CGE that our reports are old. We need to actually renew some of the recommendations that are in those reports, or make a decision on them. We have therefore undertaken that and commissioned our research department to bring us a list of all the research reports that have actually ever been done. And out of those, we would like them to give us a paragraph on what the hypothesis was and what the recommendations were and what year it was done. We are aware of the tenuous credibility that is associated with old data. The sexual reproductive rights report was a 2014 report. That in itself was problematic. We got a lot of problems on that. And now even the other justice inequalities in the judiciary is a 2016 or 15 report. And again, Chair went to meet with Justice Mogoeng, and he pointed out there's a lot of changes since then. We're in 2021 now, so 2015 is a long time ago. So we have actually said, instead of to be pulling one by one and then say, oh, this is too old, or okay, anyway, the issues are still relevant, let's rather take a systematic decision, apply our minds to each and every report, decide that, yes, we are going with this one because the contents are still relevant, or yes, we want to go with it, but please update. Or no, this one has actually outlived its time. It is something that we will keep there for reference and keep referring to in terms of the outcomes and recommendations. So in the next meeting, I am hoping we will, as part of legal, be having that report from research that will be listing all the research reports, a date when they were done, commissioned and finalized, and then the hypothesis, what were they following up, and what the recommendations, and present them to plenary, and plenary can make an informed decision on that. So it's something that we are alive to, and we are also concerned about putting, at the center of this a table in the country, outdated reports and debating them as though they are still alive to some extent. Thanks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Can we, with your permission, move to Commissioner Mazibuko? With your permission, Chair.
It seems we have lost the chair. Chair Matebula.
I think she has a problem with her connection, but please
Yes.
proceed, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. Commissioner Mazibuko here. I would have loved that the chair could hear of this, to say we don't do follow-ups. We in Gauteng with Commissioner O'Hara has gone back to Sakane, and we didn't go only to the police station, we even went to the hospital where Mamu Konza was treated, and we are working with the hospital. Every Thursdays, they have teenage pregnancies where they come to their antenatal clinics. CGE is working on that, and on Tuesdays, the hospital has to say, I work with a smile, so we're giving those badges that I don't have on now, to say we did go back. With the case of Umamu Konza, we went to the court. It's still under investigation. What is very sad about the Konza case is that both Umam Konza and Upopi, the daughter, were working in the same, under the same boss, which is the doctor. The mother was working at home, and the Upopi was working at the surgery. So the case is still in court. We will be going back to court in April. So I think we will be keeping the portfolio committee on the proceedings, and we are very eager to say that case was handed over to social development, whereby they are receiving food parcels because they are both unemployed. Coming to the issue of disability. Disability is an issue that cuts across. Unfortunately, both vulnerable groups, which is the disability and the children, are my specialties. What we do, we are going to the police stations, and this is also what I wanted Chair to hear this, to say, we just came back from Sakane police station. A gentleman who was in charge of the police station on that particular Saturday is when we felt he was drunk. He doesn't take alcohol. We met with a station commander. What is said is that both Constable or Brigadier Malulega and the station commander are going on pension as from the 31st of March. So we are having a meeting with them and management on the 29th, so that the station commander can hand over everything to the deputy station commander. The issue of the police stations, I will be working very closely with Commissioner Mokhale, where we are going to go to this police station. At this police station, there is a 6-point plan that speaks to albinism. Most of the police stations don't have that 6-point plan. We are going to train people towards knowing what is it about albinism. Our hearts as people with albinism are very sad, because the mastermind, who is the traditional healer, has succumbed. So we hope that we will be getting justice and seeing that the people who are left behind also get to be sentenced. Let me talk about the disability issues at the police stations. It is very sad that sign language people are not taken fully to say there must always be a sign language person at the police station. When the deaf community come to the police station, be it women or men, they have nobody to interpret for themselves. But as the disability sector, we are fighting very hard that we get those people that they are employed at the police station. When we come to the issue of children, it is very sad that even now the children are giving them wrong messages and wrong language to say, "Uwenzeni lo muntu okurepile, ubambe ipupunuza yakho." There's nothing like pupunuza. We have to teach our children the right terminology so that when they go to court, they speak and say as it is, not to say it is not a shovel, it's a digging instrument. No, it is a shovel. So we are looking forward as a disability sector. What I should say is that disability cuts across, but always disability is left to people with disabilities. Other members don't want to talk about disability. It becomes an Omasonto issue. It becomes a somebody's issue. But we're saying as CGE, by the time I leave, everybody in CGE will be understanding what disability is, because it cuts economically. We need women to be empowered, not because they are women, but because they are women and they are disabled. We want to say, when we talk to education, children and girls, young adults with disabilities must be looked after so that we're given extra time whenever they write an exam. So I'm saying, as the person who has the disability at CGE, I'm very proud to say by the time I leave CGE, or I am there as an advocate who advocates on behalf of children, not only children with disabilities, but with children. And we are working very closely with the Human Rights Commission, where we're looking at issues of children, where we're saying there are children who are at homes. Those children, when immediately they turn 18, they have to go and fend for themselves. But the children's bill says, what happens to those children as soon as they become 18? Can't we give those children, because they didn't get the love from the parents. The house mistresses and the house fathers don't even understand that now this man or this woman is a young woman. So those children are chased out and they must fend for themselves. So that's the advocacy that as CGE we are going to contribute in the children's bill when we work with the think tank with the Human Rights Commission to say children, even if they become 21 from the children's homes, they must not be left to go and fend for themselves. And I think, Honorable Whip, this is the issue that disability cuts across. And it came to my mind, all the speakers yesterday, when it was International Women's Day, none of the women who has disability were fielded in their panels. So we still have a long way as disabled people in South Africa. Thank you. Honorable Whip, hello. Hello. Chair Matebula.
Yes, Commissioner Mazibuko, I'm here.
Are we cut out from the portfolio committee?
I don't think so, but it looks like Honorable Whip is also experiencing connection challenges.
I'm back. Sorry, I'm back, Chair. I think I didn't unmute myself. I've just realized that. Sorry, colleagues. Apologies for that. I was saying that it seems like the chairperson is experiencing challenges. So let us proceed. Thank you very much, Commissioner Mazibuko, for the responses that you have provided. Chair, can you just lead us also on which other commissioners would like to make or give responses and make contributions?
Thank you very much, Honorable Whip. The last commissioner on the lineup is Commissioner Mutupi, who is going to respond on the engagements that CGE has continuously been having with traditional leaders, especially women in Free State, Honorable Whip. And last but not least, if she can respond on the question that was asked by Honorable Weber on what is going to happen on established programs of SAPs if not properly followed up. I know that in Free State, Commissioner Mutupi and Commissioner Sepanya Mohale had made follow-ups, and these are some of the things that they looked at. So I would like to hand over to Commissioner Mutupi with your permission, Honorable Whip. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Commissioner Mutupi, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Whip. Chair, we have established good working relations with both the male and female traditional leaders in the province, and as well as
we want to see your face.
Oh, the face, Chair. My apologies. Hey, Chair. Sometimes technology can deal with me. We've had a number of dialogues with traditional leaders in the province, at which we were engaging them on the role that patriarchy plays in the gender-based violence, how it influences gender-based violence, and the role of culture and traditions in entrenching discrimination against women. We've also had a number of dialogues with them on issues like sexual harassment, with issues like gender equality. We've had these dialogues with traditional leaders in the two areas of the Free State, mainly the Barolong Bosilika, which is based in Tabanju, and the Batokwa and Bakwena in the Eastern Free State. We through this relationship that we've established with the traditional leaders in the province, we were invited by them to address a community meeting in the rural areas in Friede, where they wanted us as the CGE to have a dialogue with the communities on gender-based violence, how it affects women and families. I must say, Chair, that the relationship that we have established with them is cordial. We have agreed with them in our meetings that they would invite us to their workshops, in particular for the mahotla that they have as traditional leaders, so that we can engage with men directly. Because we've agreed that even though they would be engaged, they will be replicating the information within their mahotlas, but they would also want us to also come and engage men and ensure that they also have this understanding. Because even to them, they also acknowledge that the information that we shared with them was an eye-opener to them. Because some of the things that have been happening, they had thought they were protecting and defending the cultures and traditions, only to find that they were entrenching patriarchy within their communities. We have also had a meeting. I must say that with male traditional leaders, it was very easy and we could engage them and they understood us. The challenge was with the queens and the princesses, the female traditional leaders, because they could not understand. They felt that they had to still protect and defend those traditions and cultures which are
oppressing women. We've agreed that we would need to have follow-ups. There are those who understood and who would really want to see change happening within the traditional communities in the province. So in a nutshell, we have established those relationships. We have not so far had any problems with them, and we have agreed that we would have a continuous working relationship with the traditional leadership in the province. And all of these engagements that we have, the COCTA department has always been part of sent someone to be part of the interactions that we've had with them, and they have taken the financial burden from us in ensuring that those who have to be ferried to meetings and booked accommodation, they do so as the department. And when it comes to the subs, I must say that we have, Commissioner Mokhale has mentioned that we are having a good relationship, Chair. I would not want to repeat what she has said with subs in the province. We are having a good relationship with the provincial management, and we have the relationship with the provincial FCS. In our meetings, the provincial FCS accompanied us so that she also learns some of the challenges which I don't know how, which she said she was hearing for the first time, and which she was to raise with the provincial commissioner. We would be having a follow-up meeting with the provincial commissioner on those issues. Commissioner Mokhale has raised an issue on the accommodation of people with disabilities, not only at police stations. We've raised it also even when we met with the NPA. The contract they had with the University of the Free State was coming to an end in February, and we agreed with them that we would follow up and find out if they have found another institution that would assist them, because someone who was assisting them from the university apparently was leaving. I'm not sure where she was leaving to, but they still had assistance from the Disabled People of South Africa, which is an NPO in the province, which is assisting with police stations. But I agree with what Commissioner Mazibuko has said, that somehow in other police stations which are not closer to DPSA, because DPSA is within the vicinity of the Free State University, the Park Road Police Station, they are within the same area. So those which are in the outskirts of the Free State, they have challenges because they struggle with these services. They'd have to find other NGOs, and if these people are not available, then it becomes a challenge. That's one of those issues that would be following up with the South African Police Services when we meet with the Commissioner. We are still awaiting confirmation of that meeting. I think Commissioner Mokhale, head chair, like I said, covered all the issues. Those are just, I was just emphasizing on those and also reporting on the relationship that we are having with traditional leaders in the province. I thank you.
How many shelters do you have?
Honorable Chair.
How many shelters do you have?
At the moment, we have one in Wepener, and the department has opened another one recently in Bothaville. There was one in Welkom and another one in Kronstadt. Those are the four that the department knows. The shelter, these are the shelters exclusively for victims and survivors of gender-based violence. There are other shelters in the province, the shelters for the aged, like the one that was on, I can't remember whether it's a special assignment or what, last week. That's the one for the aged. Those are the ones that we have, and we had concentrated on the ones that provide services for victims and survivors of gender-based violence, which are this four that the department is dealing with. But there are also other NPOs which are assisting in this regard. But the problem with the department was that some of these NPOs, the department is not aware of them. They only learn of them once they appear in the media, and they have not been monitoring their services. But those ones that I have mentioned, Chair, are the ones which are registered with the department. We raised this matter with the department that they have to follow up those which are not registered with them, because it's their responsibility to provide services to survivors and victims of gender-based violence as the department, and they can't relegate their responsibilities to people they do not even know. Even those which are not registered, they have to monitor and ensure that the services that they provide as the department, they account to them. And whilst on that, Chair, we also picked up at the meeting with the MEC that the department is not playing oversight and not monitoring all of these shelters which are in the province, which is a matter we raised, and the MEC also emphasized on it, that the officials need to ensure that they monitor the services, because the officials, I do not know how, were under the impression that because they do not give the whole funding for the shelters, they cannot hold them accountable. But we clarify that it's their responsibility to hold them accountable. Otherwise, they would not know what they are doing, even if they are only funding a fraction of what the shelters is using. They need to know what services they're offering as the Department of Social Development. I thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Mutupi. Honorable Mpiti, you wanted to speak on this one?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity. Yes, Chair, I'd like to actually come in on the submission of Commissioner Matupi. Just based on, Chair, you'll remember we said that we are currently in the Free State, and you know, it's really sad what we are seeing on the ground, particularly here in the province. We are now at Sepong Victim Support Center, and we visited the Tutuzela Center, where they've stated that they have no relationship with the Commission of Gender Equality. They've stated that they don't really, have conversations or any interactions with the Commission of Gender Equality in the province, which is fundamentally problematic, Chair, because the reports that we share.
Honorable Mpiti?
Chair?
Are they registered?
They are registered, Chair. They are registered. They receive their funding from the Department of Social Development.
Okay.
They are, they are obviously close to each other. The Tutuzela Center at the hospital and the Tsebisong Victim Empowerment Center just next to it as well. So yes, they are registered. They are getting funding from government to do the work of supporting victims, gender-based violence victims. But my point, Chair, that I'm trying to raise is specifically on this particular center to really bring to light to the CGE that there are many issues that are happening within these centers where people are lining up. They have no support whatsoever, in terms of their cases, in terms of, leaning on the commissioner as she's saying that she has contributions and working with various stakeholders in the province. They do not even they are not even aware of the CGE, and I think this is fundamentally problematic. So I want to raise this thing to the CGE to say that when they do come to present to us, please make sure that what you are saying is actually happening on the ground, because what has been said in the presentation before me is not happening on the ground. The people who are here do not even know exactly the role that CGE is supposed to play. And there is a role to play because there are thousands of documents, files that are sitting here where women and victims who have been violated and abused have not received any form of assistance in terms of the legal support that CGE is supposed to provide. And so that relationship, I think CGE needs to cultivate as a matter of urgency to ensure that the people who are lined up here, and I'm looking at them, there's a huge line. My colleagues will tell you when they speak that there is no support. So I really want to ask Commissioner to really just speak to that issue. Why has there been no relationship being established with these type of centers, with the Tutuzela centers that are here? Why have we not seen this relationship that is being spoken about in the report happening on the ground? Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Babu Ngobo, is your hand up?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. I have been partly covered by Honorable Mpiti. Really, I think that the Commission for Gender Equality must do something and make sure that what is happening on the ground, it's something that we want as a portfolio committee. It's really sad to see a long queue of people coming here asking for help at this care center, at this victim support center in Free State, and they are not being assisted. And when it's 4 o'clock, they will be sent home without getting any assistance. So I really do think that the CGE must intervene. They must put measures in place to make sure that they monitor places like this, because it's these centers that help women that have been abused. And also, Chairperson, I know that it's the CGE that is on the committee today, not the department, but just to flag that the NGO, there's a huge challenge with NGOs for persons with disabilities. They are closing down because of funding. The Department of Social Development is really not increasing the budgets. In fact, we just had an oversight visit in one of the NGOs here in Free State at a Jonah Weber house, and they house about 38 persons with disabilities. They are saying that it's still a miracle that they are still existing. They haven't closed down. The Department of Social Development is not giving them enough budget. So it's something that we must consider as a committee going forward. Thank you very much.
Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I want to come in on the traditional part, the traditional leaders and leaders, and I want to, like, it's something that is very close to my heart in the community of the LGBTQI plus, and I like to find out these talks that they are having with traditional leaders. Does it include this component as well? Because it's problemsome for me if you had to change a commissioner in some province, and because of inclusiveness or lack of awareness or discriminating and all of that for this specific reason. So I like to find out by each province, are these talks that they are in these talks and trainings and things like that they are going to these traditional leaders, does that include your community of the LGBTQI plus community? And then on the other part of the report, Chair, the outdated component of it, I think we need a timeline from the CGE in terms of by which date will they take it to plenary, and when will the committee get a feedback in terms of the updating of some of these outdated reports that they are still having? Because it's problemsome with having a report of this nature so old, and we are into it. Yes, the issue is still very relevant, and it's much more relevant now since we are searching with a scourge of GBV and so forth in the country, and men had literally declared war against women. But to have a report of such nature so old, it's very concerning. So we'll really like to have a date attached to the monitoring of these reports. And it also speaks to what the chair earlier spoke to in terms of your monitoring tools. If you don't have monitoring tools, unfortunately, you don't want to know if you are coming or going. It's important to have some form of monitoring within the CGE. And I think in terms of the last point, Chair, what the commissioners have raised, and I think it was Commissioner Bueta that have raised it, it's the point of the lack of departments for taking their recommendations for granted, and lack of a better word. And you could even see, if you look at to the report that they have reported on the health department of sterilizing those women with HIV without their knowledge.
That is purely, and some of those findings, you are still waiting for department to, to come up. Have they done the recommendations, put through the test the recommendations that CGA have put, and you're still waiting for some of these departments. So I think it's where we also need to play an active role as the committee chair in assisting the CGE in. They must give us also a report as to which is those reports and departments that they have report and not get favorable outcomes, so that we can also, as our part and as an oversight body, really hit these people over the hand that doesn't adhere to the CGE recommendation. And then the last part to I think the CEO mentioned this, that they want to evoke section 2021, if I'm correct. I mean, like, you can't come to the committee and still say we're gonna evoke it. If people don't do what you are saying, do what is well in between your rights. Don't be scared for doing your job. And if there's political interference, come and talk to us and say there's some form of, I'm getting some form of political interference or backlash, but don't wait to implement what is well within your rights to do as a commissioner to in order for your activities to continue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Natasha. Honorable Sharif.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Chairperson, and we are currently at the Tsepong Victim Support Center, and we are told by the general manager that police stations send women away and they send them to this support center in order to open up cases. Chairperson, if you see the amount of people that are here and the time that they are waiting to get assistance from the domestic violence court, you will be shocked. Let me speak. I would appreciate Commissioner Matube to come here to the domestic violence court and have a look for herself. Helen Suzman once said, if you want to see what's happening, you have to be here. It's at the National District Hospital in Bloemfontein.
Oh, Bloemfontein, okay.
Yes, Chairperson. And so we are here now and we are seeing that there are many people waiting to be assisted. The general manager is telling us that the police refuse to open up cases at the police station and they send everybody here. That is a massive problem because it gives a backlog at this domestic violence court a lot, and something needs to be done. So I would suggest the commissioner to come here and have a look for herself. The second note I want to make is on the Tutuzela Care Center, Chairperson. What we saw there was, it was sad. Chair, I left emotional because there are two women on duty after 7 p.m. That is the front desk and the forensic nurse. And they are telling us that they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe to be alone. There is no security. They do not get debriefings after they deal with cases. So she was telling me how she cries in the office and then she wipes her tears and she goes and she helps the next victim. And this is unacceptable, Chairperson, because if we can't look after the frontline workers, how are they going to look after the survivors and the victims that come to the Tutuzela Care Center? We are told of the old machinery and the old beds that they use, and you have to walk up on a step, Chairperson. So if a woman is badly beaten, she can't get examined because she cannot get on the bed. It is 2021. How is it possible that we are living in a country that doesn't look after the people? And I would suggest the commissioner to come here so she can see for herself what is happening. Because when the department and when they come to report to the committee, it's all roses and rainbows. But when we come to the ground, we see something completely different. There are people who have been here since this morning, Chairperson. It's almost 2 o'clock and they haven't been assisted. These are the things that we as a committee, we need to start looking at, and we need to make sure that we hold the Commission for Gender Equality and the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities and all those other departments that are meant to implement the National Strategic Plan. They must be held accountable. There is no point having a policy of 200-page policy that outlines the interventions of government, but when we come here, there is nothing happening. And this is a problem for us, Chairperson. And I would like to hear what the response is from the Commissioner. I thank you, Chair.
Yeah, your watch is forward, ne? I think it's now it's 10 to 1, not 2.
Chairperson, 1 hour is doesn't make much of a difference because we are still here at the court, Chairperson. And I mean, if I tell you, if I show you the amount of people that are here, Chair, you will be very shocked.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Sheriff. Honorable Chairperson. Chair.
Chair, thank you very much.
You are lucky that they are there and you got a first-hand report, hoping that you'll make interventions. As they have reported, we want to thank them that at least they gave us first-hand information, and I can see, even yourselves, maybe you can see, even in the video of Honorable Sheriff, we're seeing people behind her. Maybe those are the people that she's talking about. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It really breaks one's heart to see what is happening in those courts at this day and age, when you think that we have made some inroads and the reality on the ground, I think, is what we are witnessing today. Honorable Chair, I just want to commit Commissioner Deyi and Commissioner Mutupi on 2 things. In responding to honorable members around the issue of a follow-up monitoring work that needs to be done in Etombeni village in Lady Frey. I would like to commit Commissioner Deyi to actually say something around that and how she's going to make follow-up around the rape of older women by young boys. Also, I think on the basis of what
Tamara,
oh yes, Chair, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was committed Commissioner Deyi to make follow-up to the LA Frey, Eastern Cape, to follow up on the rape of elderly women. Oh, okay. I'm closer to the speaker, Chair. I'm sorry. I think I'm quite emotional about what
I heard you when you were talking about Commissioner Day to report to
Yes.
respond on 2 matters. The one of Commissioner of Honorable Mgweba and Lady Frey. I think you were talking about Lady Frey.
Yes,
I think the one of Mgweba, ne?
Yes, Chair. Yes, if she could just quickly make commitments around that. Honorable Chair, the issues raised by Commissioner Honorable Mkiti, Honorable Ngobo, and Honorable Sharif.
You must start with the first ones.
Oh yes, Chair.
Are you done with all the questions of members?
We are done
with
Chair, Honorable Chair, my apologies once more. I was saying that, Chair, we are done with all the questions by honorable members. I was ticking them, going through all of them. However, the issue of Ethembeni and the traditional leaders one, Commissioner Deyi needs to commit on the follow-up that needs to be made. And secondly, I would like Commissioner Mutupi to make a commitment in terms of the follow-up that needs to be made at the Bloemfontein court issue that Commissioner Mpiti, Commissioner Ngobo, and Honorable Sharif are making, just to make those commitments, Chair, so that we commit here and now on record that those are some of the things that we will follow up and we will provide feedback. So I would like to hand over to Commissioner.
Okay, before you hand over to them, you know, I'm just thinking here that maybe we need to, CGE need to come up with a comprehensive approach on how are you going to deal with issues relating to traditional areas and traditional, you know, cultural issues that are affecting people who are residing in those traditional areas. And how do you deal with the stereotypes and yeah, maybe let's give you an opportunity as CGE on going back and apply your minds on holistically on how can you deal with those issues, so that, you know, we must not deal with them as piecemeal and because it's not going to assist us. You see, you need to come up with a comprehensive, because it's not an easy issue that you can deal with in terms when you look at gender discrimination and so on, issues of the attitude on how do they relate to LGBTQIA plus issues, and we need to think, Chairperson, and have an approach whereby it will assist the whole nation, not only specific individuals, because if we are going to deal with it like that, it's going to have a problem. But when you go back and deal with it holistically, you'll be able also to influence in terms of policy, and yeah, that's what I was thinking. But in terms of the commitments, your commissioners can respond to the issues that maybe you want them to respond to. But with this one, I think we need a holistic approach and a comprehensive one, not by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, because Angfuneni Zibopeng or something, and then tomorrow we'll be holding you accountable on things that you have said in a meeting.
Yes.
So, but with the issues that are raised now, your commissioners can respond to those ones.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to agree with you that as the institution, we will sit down and look at a comprehensive approach or strategy to deal, broadly, generically with issues of, cultural, traditional, and gender discrimination norms and all of that at an organizational level, Chair. I think this is something that, as we go into our planning processes, these are some of the things that we will look at, and perhaps we will come with a comprehensive strategy around this. Chair, thank you very much, and on that, and thanks for raising that, Chairperson. I would like to hand over to Commissioner Dei and Commissioner Mutupi at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to respond to the Honorable Mugweba and commit to following up the issue of the rape, and these are acts of terrorism of elderly women, particularly elderly women who live alone, is an ongoing issue that has been identified even by the MEC himself. He has spoken about it at several events that I have met him at. So it is an issue that is known by the high structures of leadership of the Eastern Cape. And I commit to ensure that I follow up and engage the necessary stakeholders in order to ensure that accessibility of police services, accessibility of police protection and police visibility is what has been noted as being also an issue around this particular matter. I just wanted to also respond to the issue of traditional leaders. Honorable members, I don't want to misrepresent what I experienced. I have been to several events and meetings in the Eastern Cape, and the issues that I speak about are issues around not people making direct discriminatory comments or even preventing me on entering particular premises. It is the comments that are made in those environments. For instance, I'll make an example. I was at a SALGA meeting in the Eastern Cape. I think it was the Eastern Cape Golf Estate or Club. And one of the speakers was a traditional leader who I was going to speak right after. And in his speech, he was not meant to address this, but he made a very sideways comment about how now people want to get married, you know, against tradition. And the next thing that they will want is to even be men themselves, obviously saying that in isiXhosa. So what I try to reiterate, honorable members, is the types of comments and attitudes that have made it clear to me that in my engagements, there's already a discriminatory attitude, there's already a discriminatory disregard of my person. I am a very visibly lesbian person. I have tattoos, I have piercings, I have a big tattoo on my chest. When I wear a formal blouse, it shows. So I'm a very visibly non-normative presenting woman, let's put it that way. And so in engaging, but I have found other ways to engage. For instance, the provincial parliament, NCOP, is very receptive to me coming and making submissions on particular legislation, and that's where I engage on LGBTI issues. I made submissions on the amendment of Section 6 of the Civil Union Act. I made submissions on the amendments to the Customary Marriages Act, Section 7.2, and I think Section 7.2.1 as well. I made submissions on issues of forced ukulobola babantwana who are below 18 becoming criminalized. So I am finding alternative ways, honorable members, to engage at the provincial level. I do not want to say that no structures want to engage with me, but the various ways I have engaged have had to change because of what I have assessed to be problematic and discriminatory attitudes. No one has said you can't enter. Nobody has said we won't have a meeting because you are lesbian. I think in the context of South Africa, nobody would say that. But I think it is the invisible ways in which people disregard the issues of LGBTI people when I am in the room with them. On the issues, I think it was Honorable Shengwa who had asked what exactly it is that I do. As I mentioned, I have engaged with SALGA. I'm available where my primary commissioner, who's co-assigned with me, is unavailable. I engage on behalf of the CGE with the provincial structures. As I've mentioned again, I've engaged about 3 times with the provincial parliament. Every time they have a bill that is necessary for us as the CGE to comment on, they graciously invite me and I graciously accept. So we have quite an established relationship there. I have been involved and been deployed by the chair to investigate particular cases. There was the cases of the striking nurses who are not being afforded PPE, and where I could, I did intervene and seek to provide a communication between the department and the unions that were involved and the nurses. I have conducted visits upon invitation. So I have been invited to go to the traditional homestead to be a speaker, and I was well received, of course, with the caveat of what I have just said in terms of some of the comments. I do and I am a very proud lesbian. I do not want to hide that. I do want to be very clear with leadership that I interact with them from that a basis, that the issues that I want addressed, I also want to include lesbian women and gay men and the violence that they experience. I also interact at the national level and do interact with the various institutions such as the South African Law Reform Commission on issues that they put out and they seek the CGE's comments, etc. And recently I will be engaging with the Minister of Home Affairs on the draft official identity management policy. And I have been in conversation with the chair, and I always act through the office of the chair to ensure that the interests of LGBTI people, Honorable Tlangwini, are always primary. So I engage at various levels, commissioners, apologies, I'm used to being in plenary, honorable members. I engage at various levels. However, yes, discriminatory attitudes have impacted on how I engage. So I might engage maybe more at the provincial level because there's been more receptiveness to my engagement and my work as a commissioner. Thank you very much, commissioners. I think those are all the questions and the commitments that I'm making currently. Unless I've missed anything, honorable members will then ask me to comment on those. Thank you very much.
Gertrude?
Thanks, Chair. Chair, let me start with the one on awareness on LGBTQIA plus communities with traditional leaders. That's one of the issues that we raised when we met with the traditional leaders, both male and females. And come to the questions. Chair?
I want you guys to leave that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I want you to come up with a comprehensive approach on that one.
Thank you.
We left Day because Day was supposed to clarifying herself so that we don't misquote her.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair and honorable members, the last time we appeared before the Portfolio Committee, we raised issues around the Thuthuzela Care Center in National Hospital. Commissioner Mogale, in her presentation, she mentioned that there is a shortage of staff. She mentioned the challenges which are there, and we also said that we in our meeting with the MEC for Social Development, we've agreed that the MEC for Social Development shall extend an invite to us for the cluster meeting where the MEC for Health, MEC for Police, Roads and Transport and herself are sitting so that we raise issues relating to the Thuthuzela Care Center in the province. The issues that honorable members have picked up.
Unfortunately, I will have to stop you because our time is up. And we have to prepare for our sitting that is starting at 2:00. Okay. Maybe what we need to do, Chairperson, is that you have heard Honorable Mpiti, you have heard Honorable Ngobo and Honorable Sharif. And what needs to be done is for you to commit that you are going to make follow-up on the issues that they have raised and forward the information to the Portfolio Committee, or we'll see how do we get a slot so that on the issues that we have raised, honorable members have raised today, we apply for another day so that you can come back and report to us on your findings, on your interventions as CGE, both yourself and Commissioner Day. And so that at least we can deal with these matters, do justice on them, because now I don't want to delay honorable members We've been here since morning and we're no longer serving breakfast. They must be ready for the 2 o'clock sitting. And I will still have to get a feedback from Honorable Stay. And who else? Who's the other member that was supposed to give us a
Mam Hlengwa.
Mam Hlengwa first, and Honorable Stay. So my apologies for that. Otherwise, we would have adjourned this meeting long time ago. Honorable Mpiti and Sharif and Honorable Ngobo, at least we were able to get feedback from the work that they are doing there. And otherwise, even themselves, they were not going to get that opportunity to report with immediate effect, because at that time we would have adjourned the meeting. But we want to thank them very much for the information that they gave us today, and we'll make sure we are giving you an assignment to that go and make your interventions. You'll come back. We'll call you, and so that you can come back and report to us. On that note, Chair, I think we're done with you. We'll deal with the issues as I have outlined right now. Now I want to call Mam Hlengwa to give us a feedback, because with Mam Hlengwa also we're in a meeting. Over to you, Mam Hlengwa.
Thank you, Chairperson. The school is Zamimpilo Special School.
Okay.
Near Teza area. But I forward on WhatsApp the whole picture of the school. You had Miss Koza said borehole is fixed. There is no water until yesterday. Even today in the morning, I phoned principal and she said it's still there. There is no water at school. The post for SGPs, all the support staff, there are 20.
So there's no borehole at all?
No borehole at all. They just fetch water in the river. The support staff go and fetch water in the river. There are 24 support staff who paid by SGP. SGP use the grants for these learners to do their work, because some of them don't want, they even not to wash themselves. That's why they have support staff, and they are all in all, they are 24, and they get paid from grant. Even the bus driver was not paid by the department, paid by the SGP. And there are 4 post-level 1 vacancies start from 2019 till today, the department not fixed.
Principal uyibhale phansi yonke lento le.
Uyibhalile principal.
Okay, ngicela ukuthi uforward officially kuneliswa. We will forward it to the MEC. And we'll ask department ukuthi basitshele ukuthi what are the developments here. We'll just give 7 days to respond to us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma.
Yeah.
Neliswa, in that order, you will take that report to Honorable Mam Hlengwa, and then we will forward it right officially to the Premier's office and the MEC for Education. Pays it, Kashifa, you need to draft it correctly, that this is what they have said in a meeting. And they confirmed, and we as the portfolio committee, we delegated one of our members, Mam Hlengwa, to go and verify the facts. So these are the outcomes. and here is the report from the principal. So that's how we are going to deal with all these issues. So I want to see that letter tomorrow being sent to the Premier's office and to the department. So by tomorrow afternoon, you must send me the copies of all those letters.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Honorable Stay. Honorable Flongo. She's no longer in the meeting. I get Honorable Whip, she's no longer in the meeting? Honorable Masiko?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Is Honorable Stay no longer in the meeting?
I'm trying to search for the names, Honorable Chairperson. I'm not picking up her name.
I think she has been kicked out, Chairperson.
By the system?
Yes, Chair.
Can Nelisa call her, because we no longer have time now? It's 1:21. Nelisa, can you call her? Because we want to adjourn the meeting.
Chairperson, I have about 9% left of my battery, but I will stay on for as long as it lasts, just letting you know.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Sheriff. Yeah, honorable members, I think this is the only way we must deal with issues as they come, because this thing of prolonging issues, it assists. So any member who've got issues, don't be afraid to tell us in the meeting, and then we will see how do we assist you, because this is how we deal with issues. I'm sure Honorable Ntlangwini was shocked that I even sent her a response early hours of the morning. She was still sleeping, and now when she wakes up, she saw my response, because I take honorable members serious.
And I thank you for that, Chair. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Even Honorable Mpiti knows that like it Gesher.
Ms. Songo is in, Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Mpiti, you know.
Chairperson, Ms. Songo is in.
Yes, Honorable Flongo, may you please share with us? Stay.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Yangis.
Sengiyakuva manje.
Okay, ungakhuluma again.
Which report, Chair?
Yeah, last week.
Yes, Chair, I made mention earlier on that the social development, when they assessment the social workers, I think they are still busy there because nobody had called me so far, but I'll have it by Tuesday in the next committee meeting, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable members, Chairperson and your commissioners. Thank you for your presence. You know, when you are present in a meeting, at least you are able to deal with many issues, and you make our work very easy. And thank you for all of you commissioners who are always working, serving our people. And we know sometimes you don't have transport, and you are struggling with transport. We are hoping that, I'm sure now, Chairperson, we have tried to resolve the issue of transport for your members, because nani beninenkinga ye transport, but I'm sure now seni right. But siyabonga kakhulu umsebenzi omuhle eniwenzayo babubhotha. sizohlangana endleleni sizoyi-check-a nalezi zakho zaseLimpopo osinikeze zona sizozi-check. Uyabona ukuthi sometimes it's easier when information ibhalwe phansi because sikwazi ukuyithumela injalo nje niyibhalile phansi kubo Premier nakubo MEC ukuthi why we are able to ask the relevant question. Our researchers are able to sit down and formulate questions, especially those questions that are raised by honorable members. They are captured by our researchers as they are. So thank you very much, honorable members. Chair, we will tell you on time when we are calling you again. And Chair, you know, we don't have to remind you, your end of March, I think March was the last month for you to come and present your monitoring and evaluation tool. So today asinibuzanga because siyazi ukuthi saninikeza much ukuthi nizopresenta your monitoring and evaluation tool. So for and then the second one is to deal with the appeal yaga Honorable Muliko. Nelisa, if you can forward to this commissioners the appeal of Honorable Dr. Muliko.
We'll do that.
Yeah, but thank you very much, honorable members, and even usuku oluhle umhlangano wethu sesiyawuvala.
Siyabonga, Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much, Chair. Have a
very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Chair.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Chair. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sharif.
Bye, Chair.
Bye, my dear. Bye. Drive safe.
We will. I just want to show you where I am.
Okay.
Here we go.